Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, welcome everybody to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's show number 499. Tomorrow we will celebrate our 500th show. Joe Thomas will be here tomorrow. Mike Polk and Brad Sellers will make appearances. And then on May 9th, it'll be our 2-year anniversary. So a lot of exciting things coming up on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell with me today on the panel.
You know who won't be at the 500th? You and me. It's what they think about us.
You know,
it's like that.
I'll tell you, I got a problem with that. And, in fact, I said to Mike, we got to have Tyvis and Jason on. I said, why don't we at least video them in for a little while? And Mike's like, I don't know if we have time.
That's cool, because you know what?
Well, no.
Was that not the conversation?
You said, let's bring them on for 2 minutes each. And I said, Bull, in the history of this show, in 499 episodes, have we ever been able to do something in 2 minutes?
I mean,
that's fair.
But then I said, well, let's bring them on together for 10 minutes.
I really don't need to be. I was just messing with
you.
And
we can talk and figure out a way to incorporate that. Jason and
Tyvis. It's not, the 500 show
parts.
ain't that deep, but May 9th falls on what day?
I don't know.
Yes, sir. I'll be here for that show.
What's May 9th? I wouldn't even listen.
It's a Thursday.
I tuned out by that. Well, they'll kick us off for that. And bring everybody else.
Great.
If they do that, and tell us what they think of.
Jason Tyvis, we don't need you. We're going to bring everybody else.
I mean, you did say you tuned out. Maybe that's why they're not inviting you in.
I have ADD. I catch every fourth word and make up the rest.
All right, Mike, Earl, Anthony, and Steve, of course, behind the glass. This weekend, apparently, Steve got recognized for the first time.
His camera privileges is revoked. He can't no longer get on camera anymore.
Mike, are you seconding that?
He's getting recognized, and he doesn't need
camera?
to be. So
yes, Director Steve today, he'll make a camera appearance tomorrow, but he's a little cocky right now. I'm not going to lie. He walked in yesterday, big-chested. Now Tyvis is in here, and he's feeling like he owns the place, so I am revoking his camera privileges today.
Fans is telling him to
bust your chops.
Yeah, what's going on with y'all?
Yeah.
Steve needs to be not even seen, not even heard. He just needs to push his buttons back there. That's what he's best at.
Pretty harsh there, Tyvis. You never looked better. By the way, I went to jury duty this morning, and so I had called Mike yesterday. Said I got to go to jury duty tomorrow.
Did you do what I said to get out of it?
Something similar.
Yeah.
Something similar. I went up to the person at the front desk. I said, "Listen, do you know who the F I am? Get me the hell out of here." No, I did not do that. But I did get out of it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure if I was going to be here today, but fortunately I was able to make it.
I got called for jury duty, and literally they said, like, is there any reason, or you see any conflict? I'm like, yeah, I work in the media, and I just started packing up immediately.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, and they're like, okay, you can go.
That's it.
All you got to do is tell me you work in the even if you don't, just tell me you work in the media. You get out of jury duty.
Now you're going to get in trouble. That's illegal.
Why would you say that?
All right, keep that between us.
Yes. Don't say that if you don't actually work in the media.
Only 1,000 people watching right now, Jason. You and 1,000 of our closest friends.
Just keep that cut.
Yeah.
Just keep that between us.
All right, lot to get to today. Later, the red-hot Josh Naylor. And, of course, we are 2 days away from the draft, although 3 days away from the Browns making their first pick. What could they be up to in this draft? But, of course, we're going to start with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are up now 2-0 after we talk to Mikey McNuggets.
We're going to get to that in 1 sec. I just want to give a little people a preview of tomorrow's 500 shows. We do have a couple special things planned. We'll find a way to get Jason and Tyvis involved. We have what we're calling the bonk list, which we will unveil, which is some out-of-context quotes put together in compilation that sound a lot funnier than they actually were in the moment. We're going to do a top 5 funniest moments list from the history of the show. We'll do the top 5 best and most significant moments from the history of the show. We got Joe Thomas coming on. We're bringing back some blasts from some guests from the past to incorporate into the show. So it's going to be a fun jam-packed edition, and we make sure you guys tune in. Appreciate all you guys, too, who have supported us through 499 shows, and tomorrow will be our 500th. We'll talk Cavs after a quick word from FanDuel. It is playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And today's winning ticket comes from Bobby Rhodes. And he says, boy, you're on a heater. He took your Bet Rivers pick. He's 2 for 2 with those, and he turned $20 into $155 with Bull's 3-leg parlay from the other day. The overruns on the Guardians-A's game, the Brewers' money line, and the overruns in the Diamondbacks-Giants. So if you want to win some money, bet with Bull. He puts out his parlays on his Bet Rivers podcast, and you can be like Bobby Rhodes and make $150 by listening to Adam the Bull.
There you go, and I will have another parlay out this afternoon for action in baseball tonight. Guys, the Cavaliers, very similar to the first game. They took a big lead in the first quarter. Magic made a couple of runs to get it close, but in the end, they were inept offensively yet again. And despite the fact that the Cavs offensively are not playing particularly well, they have a commanding, or what feels like a commanding 2-0 lead in this series.
I think that this series against the Magic is exactly what the Cavs needed. You know, we criticized a lot. Well, I didn't. A lot of people criticized them for
silly people
cheating or losing the last game against Charlotte to get the Magic. But this is the perfect opponent for them because it's a confidence booster. The one place that the Cavs haven't been successful has been in the playoffs. So you get a team that doesn't have that same playoff experience, and you're able to take advantage of those things. I mean, we've seen this man right here has been saying all year, when they get to the playoffs, they're going to leave Evan open for 3. They're going to leave Isaac Okoro open for 3, and they got to make them. And if they make them, it'll change the entire series. And in this series, we've watched those two hit Isaac Okoro hit the double step back tray. I didn't even know he had that in his game. He hit that shot. I said, oh, it's a wrap. They're getting things done in this series that they need to be successful moving forward. I'm not saying that next round, because they're going to win this series, it's over with. Next round that they're going to play extremely well, but I think they'll be much better and much more experienced, and it's a confidence booster. So I like what I've been seeing. Offensively, no, it's not perfect at all. The Magic look like us last year. It looked kind of froze. The stuff that was working in the regular season, they're finding out playoff basketball is totally different. This is a team that hasn't been in the playoffs in, 10 years? So they're finding out that.
Is it really 10 years?
Something like that.
Wow.
And they're finding out that it's a totally different game. And, you know, the Cavs are doing such a great job of handling the first quarter and maybe the first half. And it's overwhelming to the Magic. They don't have a lot of guys that's making shots outside of Paolo. And Franz is doing the best he can, but outside of those two, they don't really have anything. And the Cavs are doing a great job of playing good defense. But the offense does need to improve.
By the way, the Wagner parents dropped the ball. It should have been Hans and Franz.
So they can pump you up.
How did you miss that opportunity?
Well, I don't think Hans and Franz
Mrs. Wagner.
Was that when was that SNL? It was probably right around when they were born.
Yeah,
actually.
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe they were not fans.
What's your take on the Cavs right now, Jason, and how they've played? I
don't think they're playing particularly well. I think they just happen to catch an opponent that, you know, the Cavs have become the Knicks and the Magic have become the Cavs. And that's sort of what I wrote. I think it's something that's going to post for tomorrow. We were talking about on the text thread last night that where the Cavs were last year, the Magic are even actually worse. I was looking at some of the numbers last night and this morning. The Cavs' defensive philosophy, and JB said they're taking the shots we want them to take. Well, that's 3-point shots. The Cavs are just packing the paint and saying, go ahead, shoot. And the Magic are wide open. I mean, wide open.
There have been some easy, especially the first quarter, first half.
And they're not making shots.
Yeah.
The Magic are shooting. So the NBA has tracking data, right, on like very tight defender, close defender, open, and wide open. Wide open by NBA standards is 6 feet or more. And on shots 6 feet or more, the Magic are shooting like 25%.
Oh, my God.
Now, to put that in perspective,
25% period or just from three?
from three.
Okay.
On these wide open, which
Okay.
is typically where you're going to
Yeah,
get
right,
wide
right.
open
Yeah, that's
shots,
true. Yeah.
is from three.
Yeah.
Now, to put that in 25% on wide open shots. Now,
Yeah.
to put that in perspective, when the league started tracking this data like a decade ago, I think the 13-14 season was the first season they started doing this, no team in the playoffs has shot under 30%. And the Magic are at 25% through 2 games. That's how bad.
And even 30% is awful in that
30%.
situation.
And I mean, those are teams that lose in the first round.
Right,
Actually,
right.
I'm sorry. I think I misspoke. One franchise has shot under 30% twice. You know who it was? Donovan Mitchell's team both times in Utah.
Oh, wow.
And they were knocked out in the first round both times. That's the only franchise that's ever shot under 30% since the league started tracking on these wide open shots. So the Cavs are saying you can shoot those all day as much as you want, and the Magic can't make them. They got it down to 10 in the fourth quarter and had a wide open look from 3 that really could have made things interesting. They missed it. Like they can't shoot. So the Magic now are where the Cavs were last year, to where their offseason plan has to be, we have to go out and find shooting to surround Banchero and Wagner and some of these other guys, because Jalen Suggs is terrific defensively. He's made progress as a three-point shooter during the regular season. It hasn't been there. Gary Harris ain't it. He should be coming off the bench.
Right.
They have zero shooting. And until you fix that, what did we say all postseason last year for the Cavs? Shooting. It all comes down to shooting.
Yeah.
The Magic don't have that. That's why the Cavs are up 2-0, even though I don't think they're playing particularly well.
And we talked about this briefly before the show, and this obviously is a topic for another day, but Darius Garland would probably be a great fit on Orlando, wouldn't he?
I think Trae Young would be a perfect fit on Orlando.
Okay.
But Darius, I mean,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
A point guard who can shoot.
And Darius
Yeah.
is actually shooting it well.
I was say he had a good game.
And he played well in the fourth quarter.
He's still.
It ain't there. It ain't where he's supposed
No,
to
no.
be.
He's got. I think he had
he-
4 turnovers and 4 assists last night.
yeah.
He's still dribbling too much. Where you're going
did
like,
not have a lot of
where
assists,
are you
period.
going with that? And part of that is the way Orlando switches defensively. It takes away a lot of ball movement. Sometimes it turns it into an ISO game. But I mean, Darius is shooting well. Like, you know, there's things that I don't think he's doing well, but in terms of 3-point shot, he's one of the few guys that actually is making something.
Darius has, you know how on the Space Jam, when the Monstars stole their talent and he had to touch the ball he's starting to touch the ball again to get his talent
Think
back.
so?
Yeah,
Coming?
I think so.
He
not going on my parlay, but I think it's
You're not that confident
No,
yet.
not there yet.
Yeah.
But he's trending in the right direction.
You know, I think it's a. Go ahead, Mike.
Can I say one thing on the Magic shooting real quick?
Yeah.
They're 17 for 72 from beyond the arc in 2 games. And somehow it feels worse than that.
Oh, it does.
Like they've made 17 threes in 2 games. It feels significantly worse than that. But
Yeah.
17 of 72 is an absolutely horrific number. And we said after game 1, Orlando can't shoot worse. Well,
Yeah. I feel like
damn close.
it feels like they've made 3 3-pointers the whole series. But here's the thing. I do think it's a mixed bag. Yes, the Cavs are not playing particularly well offensively. But the one, and obviously the Knicks were a much tougher opponent than the Magic, even though they're both 5 seeds. But what the Cavs are doing that was non-existent last year is they're playing with toughness. Mm-hmm. They're physical, they're tough. Yes, a lot of those shots are open, but that's by design, right, Jason? I mean, that's by design. They're like, you guys can't shoot.
They want him taking those shots.
But every time Banchero gets the ball, they are harassing him.
Yeah.
They are all over him. Again, I haven't watched Banchero play much. I've been thoroughly unimpressed. He has 15 turnovers. 15.
Because they're asking him to do everything.
I'm about to say
Right.
he has nobody else.
But real positives for the Cavs. Jarrett Allen
Terrific.
was a meme last year. He's been phenomenal. Only the 3rd Cavalier ever to get 20 rebounds in a game. In a playoff game, sorry. You mentioned Okoro. I was hard on Okoro the second half of the year. The only time I felt like the Magic had a chance, in the second quarter they made that good. After Darius hit the 3 to start the second quarter, I think the Cavs were up 15, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then the Magic made like a run there. Darius got in foul trouble. Magic made a run. They cut it down to, I want to say, 5 or 4. Mm-hmm. And then Okoro then caught fire and scored, 10 points in a row or 8, something like that. And they built the lead back up, and that was it. So, he's giving you some moments. Mm-hmm. Mobley was great in the first half of the first game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't as good yesterday, but still better than last year. But the one thing I'm concerned about going into the next round is they have been extremely sloppy with the ball.
Yeah.
There's been some hideous turnovers by the Cavaliers, even Donovan Mitchell.
And part of that is this is Orlando's style, and this is what they do. They're a terrific defensive team. They're going to force you into bad situations. They're going to create turnovers.
Yeah.
And there was I guess I haven't been on, so we didn't talk about it. In Game 1, if you go back to Game 1, there was about a first 5 or 6 minute stretch of the third quarter where it was like, that's what Orlando wants to do. It's exactly what they want to do. The Cavs were getting the ball inside, but the Magic were forcing turnovers, were forcing Cavs into bad shots. They were getting baskets in transition. Magic were getting easy looks at it. And there was about a 5-6 minute stretch in that third quarter where it's like, okay, this is how Orlando wins the game if they can play an entire game like this, which is very difficult to do.
Right.
So part of it is the Cavs have been sloppy with the ball. Part of it is this is how Orlando plays.
Right.
But, you know, the Cavs are winning despite the fact that they're not shooting it much better than Orlando is. If you look at, like, Strus and Yang were two of the big offseason additions because of their shooting. Neither one of them are shooting it. I mean, George was killing himself in the locker room.
Yeah.
He was actually really funny. He can laugh about it and be self-deprecative about it because
right.
you're down 0-2, but he's like, bang, bang, can't hit a thing.
Yeah.
It was actually hilarious. And he was talking about how some of the Magic fans were sitting courtside and giving him heat, and he was trying so hard to hit one to shut him up, and he couldn't hit anything.
No.
I think he's 0 for 8 in 2 games. Like, he's got to be
Yeah.
better. He has got to be better going forward if they're going to make any sort of noise, you know, in the rest of this. If you would assume that they're – I'm sure the question is going to come up, is the series over, right? Do you think the series is over?
Yeah.
I think the Cavs are going to win. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. Orlando's going to play much better when they go back home.
Right.
Some of these shots that they're missing on the road, probably you start making when you're at home. They'll have the crowd behind them. So I've thought all along the Cavs will win the series, but I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I don't think the Cavs are going to roll in Orlando.
I never said a sweep. I said 4-2.
I thought 6.
Yeah, I just feel like for the Magic, they have to build some type of momentum. You got to get some type of win, and I think it does happen in Orlando. I don't know if it goes 6. It might go 5.
Yeah.
I think at this point it might go 5.
Yeah.
But I was one thing that I was thinking about when we was doing it. I think the Cavs did this chess move of getting this matchup because Jamal and JB are bestest of friends.
Yep.
Right now, Jamal looks just like how the Cavs did, like JB last year, struggling with adjustments, doesn't have the shooting, all the same things that JB faced. So this series, to try to, I'm going beyond here, so y'all stay with me. Does this justify that JB has gotten better as a coach by being able to overcome the same things that he was struggling with last year?
I mean, he's going up against a rookie head coach making his first postseason.
But if they decided to keep him, would this be justifiable?
We have to see how the rest of this plays out. It's too early to say.
I just want to.
If they win this series and they get swept by Boston, nobody's going to be asking for him to
I agree with that, but I'm trying to think from a front office standpoint. If they tried to set him up to succeed in the best way they could.
Here's what's interesting to me about this series is, for whatever reason, Jamal Mosley, who I have a ton of respect for, I think he's a great coach. He has not used Jalen Suggs, their best perimeter defender, on Donovan. He's putting Suggs on Darius, and Donovan's getting hot early. And we just talked about how Donovan's staking him these big leads. So on one hand, Jamal is saying, we have to be better at the start of the game. We can't keep letting them start out like this. And at the same time, he's not using his best defender on their best player. And finally, last night, he was asked about it, and he thought about how he was going to answer for a second. And basically, his answer is interesting. Basically, he said that he thought the way that Mitchell plays in pick and rolls, it was going to be a lot of contact for Jalen. And he was trying – and the way I read that, and Mike, tell me if you read it any differently, was that they didn't want to run him through a lot of screens and wear him down that way. But, I thought that was going to be an adjustment from game 1 to game 2. I thought he would use Suggs on Mitchell, and they didn't. They came out last night and played it the same way they did in game 1 until the fourth quarter, and then they started blitzing these guys a little bit more, and they had some success with it. When Orlando went on that run, it's because they really started sending 2 at the ball handler. I would imagine going into game 3. What's that?
He should have been known that the blitzes is.
Well,
what's going on here? I don't even coach it. I know that.
But the one time they tried it in the first quarter, in game 1, they blitzed Darius, And, I mean, Darius was 35 feet from the basket, and he just flipped to Donovan, and Donovan hit a wide-open three from the wing. So that's the downside to it. Is there's
Right, if you
always
don't
a
get
man
there
open.
and make the play.
Yeah, so
Well,
there's give and take with that.
It wouldn't be Darius I'd blitz. I would blitz Donovan, especially in the first
Get the
quarter.
ball out of
Get the
Donovan's
ball
hands.
out of
I-
his hands.
I
What the
tend to
Cavs are
agree.
doing that I think has been a really good adjustment from JB, and he deserves a ton of kudos. It's 2 games. They still got a long way to go, but he has severely outcoached Jamal Mosley in this series. They're starting the offense way far out, Jason, and part of the reason for that is I think they anticipated the blitz is coming, and it's really hard to blitz with that much room to operate on the backside. And also, when they're running these high pick and rolls, mostly with Donovan, a little bit with Darius, they're playing drop coverage for the most part, but when you're dropping off from 35 feet away from the basket, that's giving Donovan a ton of space to attack and get ahead of steam before he's making a move on a Banchero or a Jonathan Isaac. And when he gets going, he's damn near impossible to stop. And it's tough to try to corral him 30 feet from the basket with a big. Like, it's just a tough matchup. So the Cavs have actually expanded their offense, started setting up their primary sets further away from the basket, which has spaced out Orlando's defense, which is a way to neutralize their length and athleticism. And I think that's been a really good adjustment. They started blitzing in the fourth quarter. I haven't gone back and watched the film yet to see what kind of worked and what didn't work. But I'm sure they'll go back to that in Game 3 and Game 4 because they had success.
But part of their success in that fourth quarter was the Cavs were trying to run the clock.
Not necessarily true.
No, they weren't?
Maybe to a little extent, but
I
they
mean,
just
late in
were
the
getting
game, it
mucked
felt
up.
like they were holding the ball to the end of the possession.
It was a 10-point game with, 6 minutes left, 5 minutes left?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it was.
that's nothing.
Yeah.
You can't kill that much
But
clock.
they were playing, well, I guess I'm
They
thinking
took
a
their
little
foot
more
off the
later
gas,
than
but it
that,
wasn't prevent. Is that a fair middle
that?
ground? They didn't take their foot off. They didn't play prevent offense, but they did take their foot off the gas a little bit.
I
once it got
thought
to
they
22
did play
points.
prevent offense late, not at the 6-minute mark, but
I don't remember when they got it. I remember
Yeah.
Orlando got it to 10 and thought,
Yeah.
okay, this could get really interesting here.
Right.
Because we've seen the Cavs blow big
Right.
leads before.
But I think they, like you said, or one of you guys said, they were kind of playing it. They never really respected Orlando's ability to come back.
No, because you have to be able to shoot.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be able to make threes to come back in this game now. You're not going to come back from a 20-point deficit, usually, unless you
Yeah.
completely unravel. A team's not going to come back on you from that
Right.
big of a deficit shooting mid-range and at the basket. You've got to get a flurry of threes.
Speaking of comebacks, LeBron and the Lakers blew a 20-point lead last
I
night,
saw that.
and the Nuggets come back and win. Who hit the
Jamal
game?
Murray.
Oh, Murray, right.
Yeah.
And he was having a terrible game. And he had a 3. I think he was falling into the
Step back.
crowd.
Step back
back
on AD.
But that's a perfect example of a
Yeah.
team that can come back like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the shooting.
Yeah.
They have the three-point shooting.
And what's funny is LeBron had a big fourth quarter. Anthony Davis had a big game. D'Angelo Russell had like his best game.
Yeah.
And they still blew a 20-point lead.
Yeah.
Man.
That's how good Denver is.
And then how about the way the Knicks-Sixers game ended? Did you see that at the end of that?
Yeah, crazy.
The Knicks were down 5 with 30 seconds to go, and they won.
Yeah.
By 3.
Didn't they say somebody got hit in the face or something?
You know what? I don't want to hear about that.
Wait, what happened
Only-
though? Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, there was a complaint about a missed call or whatever. There's always a million calls to go both ways. I don't want to hear about referees. The Lakers were whining about referees after the game, too. Go ahead, Mike.
One more thing on Game 3 before we move on to a completely separate topic related to Game 3. But
Yeah.
when the Cavs made the trade for Donovan Mitchell, they were trading for a guy who, when push came to shove, when defense is locked down, a guy that can create shots. And you mentioned Paolo earlier, Bull. Jason Tyvis, Bull, I'm curious if you guys feel the same way, but through 2 games, there's only one guy I feel confident against these 2 defenses that can consistently create a good look regardless of the situation. It's only been Donovan Mitchell. And that's literally been the difference in the Cavs winning 2 games and losing 2 games. They have a guy who, when push comes to shove, whether it's late in the shot clock, whether it's off a design set, can not only create a good look for himself or someone else, as opposed to Orlando, who is fighting, clawing, and scratching just to get even a contested look.
Right.
That's what
Whereas
they
he
traded
gets
for.
really good looks in that situation. I
Yeah.
think that's true, certainly.
Yeah. And I mean, Banchero could get there. I mean, he's still a young player. This is his first time going
He's
through
20
it.
years old.
Yeah. And he needs help around him. Like, he just needs he needs something to open the floor up. They need some sort of shooting on that team, someone that you fear. There is no shooter on Orlando's roster that the Cavs fear.
I don't know. Joe
None.
Ingles makes me a little nervous. I said to Mike, Joe Ingles looks like a guy who should play in Mike's pickup games.
And he probably
He's
he
fat,
go for
he's
he go
bald,
for
he's white,
50.
and wears a wristband. I mean, what is happening
He'll
here?
be the slowest 50 every time.
He looked. There was a kid when I was at Brockport, Division III basketball. Our rival was a school called St. John Fisher, and they had a kid. Their point guard was like this big dude who didn't look like a point guard, like big for Division III, and he would wear this black wristband. And he was fat, and he was a white dude, and was like, but he was just like pretty good. And that's Joe Ingles. I mean, he just. Is there any NBA player that looks less like an NBA player than him?
Bogdanovich.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty much all the white guys.
Yeah, a lot of the white guys
of the white
don't look
guys.
like players. Let's be fair. That's true. All right, Mike, go ahead.
We're going to talk about a little different thing that happened last night in Game 2, but a quick reminder that today's episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is sponsored by Better Health. What's the first thing you do if you had an extra hour in the day? Would you go for a run, take a nap, read a book, show up for a friend? A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and how to make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters so you can do more of it. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOn today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn.
Mike, before we move on to our next Cavs topic, let me remind the folks that tomorrow's the 500th show and that May 9th is our two-year anniversary, both coming up quickly. Our goal for the last month has been to get to 40,000 subscribers to the show by our 2-year anniversary, which is now a little over 2 weeks away, 2 weeks from Thursday. Help us reach our goal. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. It costs you not a penny. Just hit the subscribe button. If you know of a friend or a family member that watches the show even occasionally, please have them do it. We are 463 subscribers away from 40,000. 463. It's a very small number in the grand scheme of things. Help us get to 40,000 by May the 9th. Thank you. Mike.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Next
You want to set
Cavs
up this next topic?
Yeah, next Cavs topic from last night's game. One thing I love about Cleveland, and I've noticed this across all sports, is they like to find a guy that they like to hate. And in this series, it's become Mo Wagner. Jason Tyvis Bull. First off, before we get into how he compares to other hated Cleveland opponents, what do you think of Mo Wagner as a player and as a character going against the Cleveland Cavaliers?
He's like crazy the way he's like you'd think they were dominating the way he's antagonizing the fans.
That's the best part.
It's so funny.
You got to have some type of energy.
I actually enjoy
I
watching
do
them.
too.
Yeah,
I love watching them.
But it's weird. Usually you do that when you're winning.
But they're on the road
Yeah.
and they're down 20, and he's trying.
He don't care.
No,
Yeah.
he's trying to keep them in it. Like
Yeah.
I really respected because he really
true.
pulled them back because he was saying like. Because at first I rolled my eyes like, dude, you're down on the break dunk, like when he on the dunk on Jarrett, right?
Yeah.
And
That was filthy.
Yeah, and I thought like, all right, you're down 18. Stop, put it back in your pants and stop
Yeah, right,
celebrating.
right.
Don't say that, because if you dunked on somebody in a game, you be saying,
if I dunked period, it'd be out. but
We got to cut that for tomorrow. Yeah.
But then I kind of realized what he was doing, and he was saying like, guys, this ain't over. Let's go. And he was, and he really was a big factor in pulling them back into it.
Yeah.
So I understand. I mean, it's funny that like he's catching this much heat basically over one shove. One of the guys for writes for The Athletic has covered the series for us on the Orlando side.
Yeah.
He covered the Magic for years, Josh Robbins. Now he's actually in Washington. And he said last night, he asked me, he said, is this because he went to Michigan? And I said, no, it's because of himself. Like,
Yeah.
Michigan basketball ain't the same
Nobody
as Michigan
cares.
football. Nobody cares he went to Michigan.
whoa.
You don't think? I think it goes back to
It's
the
not like
shove,
football.
the game one shove, and then he seemed to play into it.
Right.
And then people are like, all right,
Well,
it's on.
And there's
It
two-
makes it easier. How about that?
It does make
makes
it
it
easier.
easier.
There's
But
two
that's not
different,
why.
and Mike wanted to ask the question like he's enemy number one since. And I'll give you my answer in a second. I want your take on this. But to me, there are two groups of players / teams that Cleveland fans hate, all right? The one group is the players you hate because they're good players on your rival team.
Yes.
Like
Ben
you hate
Roethlisberger.
Steph, you hate Roethlisberger. Yeah. You hated Flacco, I guess, back in the day, or Ray Lewis. Certainly Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then there's the guy who's not a good player, but he's feisty and physical, and he beats up your players, so you hate him. And that's the category I'm choosing from because that's the category that this guy's in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a decent player, but he's not an elite player.
Mitchell Robinson.
No, it's not Mitchell Robinson. It's Kelly Olynyk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course it's Kelly Olynyk.
Well, he cost us a whole championship.
Almost tore Kevin
Yeah,
Love
he
out.
cost us a whole championship.
Well,
run.
first of all,
what?
we got to stop saying that.
What?
That you don't know that the Cavs would have won that series. Do you
Why-
think the Cavs would have won against Golden State?
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. It would have been a completely different series.
I know, but you can't say they would have won, cost them the championship. You don't know.
A lot of people feel that way.
I like their chances.
A lot of
better.
people feel that way.
Well,
They had
we'll
way
never
better-
know, unfortunately.
He is about as, you know, a guy that's still hated to this day, Joakim Noah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's just because of what he said about Cleveland.
Yeah, like that.
But, like,
He
this-
plays into that, too.
But Wagner does not belong in this. Like, usually
He's not at that level,
a
no.
first-round series against
Yeah.
a team you're up 2-0 should not generate this type of heat.
No.
Like, Olynyk injured one of your best players
Yes.
and could have cost you a championship.
Right.
Steph and Draymond, those were finals games.
Right.
Like, this is a first round against a nice player, but he's not. And I mean, and Joakim Noah, like, just stood up there and just shot your city dead.
Yeah,
And
right.
said, who likes Cleveland? What's there to do? Like, I get that. Like, that makes sense. The Wagner thing just seems a little bit silly and over the top because it's a first round series against a team that you've whipped now 2 games in a row. So, I don't know. I don't think he belongs anywhere near the class of what we're talking about with some of
No,
these
you're
other
right.
players.
By the way, if you had to look for the rest of your life, if you had to physically, in the face, look like Noah or Bogdanovich, who would you choose?
I'd wear a mask.
Yeah, Mike, you weren't here, obviously, for the Kelly Olynyk years.
Oh, but he was.
What do you mean?
I'll pull out the video. The only playoff game I ever covered in my life prior to Saturday
Yeah.
was that game in Boston. I was an intern
Oh,
at
you were
Fox
there.
8
That's
in
funny.
Boston, or Fox 5 in Boston.
That is funny.
I shot a stand-up that morning from the TD Garden, which I'll
Yeah.
play on the show, if the Cavs beat the Magic and the Celtics beat the Heat, and that is our second-round matchup.
Yeah.
You still got that
Fans
footage?
hated him.
I found it on my laptop the other day.
Oh, I
yeah.
gotta see.
told me
this.
about it last
I
night.
need to see that.
It's bad.
We had to be in the locker room together and didn't even know it.
Look at that.
Yeah. Because you were in the Cavs, right? You were when Kevin
Yeah,
was
no, I was
talking
in the
about
Cavs.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in the same locker room.
But I do think Wagner's a guy who will get booed now going forward every time he plays.
He got
for
booed
sure.
every time he touched it
no,
last night.
Cleveland are some of the pettiest people.
We don't forget.
No.
That's why
he'll
when
be
G-
booed the rest of his career when he comes here.
That's
like,
why
seriously.
That's why when G. Bush calls me Petty LeBull, I mean, I fit.
But you know what's funny about this whole thing, though? At the end of the first quarter yesterday, Wendell Carter Jr. threw a cheap shot elbow at Donovan.
Joe
Who
did.
it looked like he went to the locker room.
Yeah.
I think he just went to the exercise bike, which is what he's been doing when he comes out of the game since his knee injury. So I'm not sure he actually went back. But that was like a legit cheap shot elbow right to the ribs on Donovan coming off a screen. And that was forgotten immediately. But Mo Wagner pushed
it's
Evan
weird.
Mobley, and that has not been forgotten over 2
What
games
is that?
Because Wagner plays into it.
That's true.
He eggs him on.
Right.
He's very demonstrative.
Yeah.
On multiple turns. That's why.
You know a
That's
dude
true.
who I hated playing against back in the day when he played the Cavs?
Who?
Sean Livingston. I swear he
They became a Cav.
he never missed a mid-range shot when he was with Golden State.
Great dude.
I mean, he hit
Great dude.
He hit the most pivotal shots in the moments that you needed them to miss the most.
Yeah.
He just rise up, boom.
What year was he here?
He was here
dude.
2 years?
He was here in like 2012. He basically rejuvenated his career here. Like
Yeah,
he,
right.
was
Did he
almost-
like mess his leg up or something?
Oh, that was one of the worst injuries ever.
Yes,
What did he do?
yes. He tore it up. He blew out his.
He
whole leg.
landed, right? And then
Yeah.
his knee went. I mean, it was
Yeah.
one of the
Like the Paul
ugliest-
George
Gruesome.
thing?
Yeah, it was gruesome.
Yeah, and what was that player at Cincinnati? Remember the player at Cincinnati? Was it
No,
Cincinnati?
Louisville. It was
Louisville.
Kevin Ware.
To this day,
right,
to
right,
this
right,
day,
yeah.
I haven't
Oh.
seen that.
Oh, my
I still
God.
haven't seen
Don't watch it.
That was
Don't
one of
watch
the worst
it.
things I've
Not
ever
worth it.
seen.
Sean was a huge prospect. Huge.
Yeah.
He could do everything. He was tall. Like he had great game, and that knee changed his entire career. He was almost the Clippers had cut him. I think. Cavs picked him up on like Christmas Day, and he really sort of rejuvenated his career
Yeah,
in
he played
Cleveland.
well.
Went to Golden State, won championships. He was working for the franchise I think he still is. Like his
I'm gonna say
special,
he's still around.
special assistant to the
Warriors?
GM.
To the Warriors?
Warriors.
Oh.
Yeah, he's still. I think he holds still some role for the Warriors, like sort of like Verjao is here with the Cavs. Andy's back with the Cavs. I think Sean has a role like that.
Between him and Leonardo Barbosa, the Brazilian blur. Man, they had not even like. I mean, they was good NBA players, but against the Cavs, man, they was unbelievable.
Was it Leonardo?
Leandro.
Leandro.
Oh,
Yeah, it
excuse
sounded
me.
wrong
I
to me.
thought it was Is this Leandro?
Yeah.
You're thinking of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I am.
So
All right, Mike.
before we move on to
Yeah.
our third and final Cavs topic of the
Yeah.
day, I put in the YouTube chat, how much do you hate Mo Wagner? A little bit, a lot, or I don't hate him? What do you think the results of the poll are?
I would say 77% is a little bit. Guys?
Jason?
60%. I don't hate him.
Oh,
Tyvus?
Tyvus?
40%, 50% a lot.
We had,
They
with
pay.
272 votes, 26% for a little,
Oh.
22% for a lot, and 51% for
Yeah,
don't
Jason
hate him.
was right.
So shout out to Jason. He is now one of the YouTube chat. He is one. This is 2 in a row where he's gotten correct. Guessing
That's
without
right.
actually
I
voting.
have.
So,
Yeah. But again, like you're up 2-0. What's he
right.
done? What's he really done?
People are happy.
Yeah.
Cavs fans are happy right now. They're not feeling the hatred.
if he scored 40 and knocked out Donovan, now you can hate him.
Right,
There's
yeah,
no
that's
reason to hate him.
All right, Bo, we're going to get to your apology in a sec, but if you need a time or have had a difficult time getting tickets for a Cavs game or a Guardians game, a Browns game, a concert, whatever it may be, Game Time's the app you better be using to get the best last-minute ticket deals on the market. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You can see your view from the seat, and with their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying all tickets, but especially Major League Baseball tickets, because Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They have priority last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, and their Game Time ticket coverage makes sure you have the most flexible customer service policy in the entire ticketing industry. Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Boy, you apologized this morning. Second time in 2 weeks.
This
Yeah.
is like a marriage, man.
Explain yourself.
I know.
You're
Well,
apologizing more than I have to at home.
This one is really just me being mad at myself because I spent the entire regular season saying the regular season doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I spent the entire regular
Meaningless
season
is the word you
saying
said.
it is meaningless. And then for the last month or 6 weeks, I was so annoyed that the season was still going that I ended up shutting off my brain and getting angry at the Cavs for playing crappy basketball at the end of the season, even to the point where I got furious that they tanked the game to play for a better opponent. And my brain didn't switch back on until the playoffs started, and I said, what happened? How did I forget in the last month that the regular season is not 90%, not 95%, not 99%. The regular season is 100% meaningless. Sports boy Tony, as we all know, Anthony Lima, has been saying this, and he said on his show yesterday, I saw a clip, that everybody, most of the members of the media, a lot of fans should apologize for making a big deal about how the Cavs played at the end of the year. And what my response was that most of Cleveland media is gutless. I was going to write nutless, but I didn't want to offend anybody. But most of the Cleveland media is soft, and that's a fact. Everybody knows that. It's always funny to me when fans complain the media picks on the Cleveland teams because we have the softest media market probably on the entire planet. There are almost no good beat reporters in this town. Man, I'm just...
Yeah, you are.
It's a hell of an apology.
I was about to say this went from an apology to
I'm
everybody.
I'm not apologizing to the media members.
Gosh.
They all deserve it because they're just as bad. The Cavs, the way they played at the end of the season, didn't matter. It was stupid that we got worked up about it. We should have known. I should have known that. I've been saying it for 2 years. It's why I didn't want to watch regular season basketball because it has no meaning, no value. And we've seen this, by the way. You watch these playoff games, every moment, every possession. Guys are playing life and death like. There's fight and fire on every play, it seems. That does not happen in the regular season. It does not. Or the Cavs played hard last year in the regular season. The Magic did this year. There are a sprinkling of teams that do, and then it's meaningless once the playoffs start. It's a completely different game. Who's healthy when the playoffs start? Who's more talented? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And it's trending more and more in that direction every single year. I should have known better. Sports Boy Tony is right. Ken, you got to admit it. You were wrong. Everybody else was wrong. Anybody that criticized this team during the regular season, you were lost because it was meaningless, and I was completely wrong about that.
Here's where I'm confused, though.
Yeah.
I don't think the Cavs are playing all that well.
That's fair.
Like, just because they're up 2-0 on a team that can't shoot, that's never been in the playoffs, doesn't mean all the problems are fixed and everything's great. They're playing well defensively.
Right.
And a lot of that's because Orlando has no shooters. Jarrett Allen has been terrific.
Yes. But, yes.
But, I mean, like, let's not swing so far the other way because they're up 2-0 in a series
agreed.
we all thought they were going to win
I still think the Cavs have almost no chance of beating Boston. Don't get me wrong. But
if they play like this against Boston,
they'll get swept.
Probably.
Right. The point is, though, what happened in the last month is a non-factor. It's a non-factor. It's only about being healthy. And yes, they have to play better, certainly.
Yeah.
But guys struggling at the end of the regular season, it's a totally different game once the playoffs start.
But I have more faith in that with veteran teams. Just because the Cavs is their second trip to the playoffs doesn't mean they're this battle-tested veteran playoff group. They're really, I mean, go back to the Cavs teams that went to the finals year after year.
Yeah.
Those teams could go get drunk during the regular season and then show up in April and roll to the finals.
Right.
Cavs, this team is not in that group.
But I'm not even saying that the Cavs are a sensational team. I'm just saying I only have all we should judge them on is what they do now.
Yes.
Not anything they did the last month.
That's fair. That's very fair.
That's it. All right, Mike.
Tyvis, what do you think on that?
On judging the Cavs?
On Bulls.
I give Bull a
revelation.
Bull gets a 4 out of 10 for his apology. 4 out of 10.
Because I ripped the media?
Yeah, you should have just.
Now you got to come back and apologize.
You got to keep it about you. You should have said this apology was about you. But you should.
It was about me.
You brought everybody else into it. So 4 out of 10. But I love when you spoke about the Cavs. I was right there with you.
But the ripping of the media.
You should have did that some other time. But anyway. No, because that wasn't the point.
One of the things that's wrong with too many journalists is all we do is sit in an ivory tower and we are critical of everybody.
Right.
And the first time somebody turns around and points the gun at us, we cry and freak out.
Yeah.
It can't be that way.
You can't be that way.
Everybody's
so sensitive. You got to admit when you're wrong. Many people in this business can't admit when they're wrong.
I don't look at myself as a media guy. So.
Well, you are. Sorry. And
guy.
Gene Bush says that too. He's ridiculous. He's been in the media for a decade. I don't know what he's talking about.
Wait a minute. G. Bush, yes. I'm not a media.
Yes, you are. You are a
you
media
work for the
member.
Browns Radio Network. You work for UCSS. You're on radio in Columbus. You're on the Big Ten Network.
You are a former athlete.
Denial is what you are. You're in denial of where your life is.
But
I was intervention.
wrong to judge the Cavs, especially to be a little. I was way over the top in my criticism.
Yeah, you
of
picked
the
the Magic in 5.
The Magic in 5. What an idiot I was to pick the Magic.
That's blasphemy.
The Magic suck, and that all the proof you need of that the regular season is meaningless is that the Cavs are the 5 seed in the East.
That's not
I'm
true.
sorry. Correction. That the Magic are the 5 seed in the East.
They were the 3 seed a few days before the end of the season.
The fact that the Magic essentially had as good a record as anybody in the East outside of Boston tells you that a lot of these teams did not take the regular season seriously because there's no way that the Magic are one of the 5 best teams in the East.
No, and they wouldn't have been if Embiid didn't get hurt. So that's kind of.
And Banchero looks like a stiff. I don't care what anybody
and
says.
if Miami,
I know he's not, but he looks like a stiff in this series.
If Miami ever took a regular season seriously, that would help. But they don't.
They don't. That's it.
Wait, who they playing in their series?
Boston.
They playing Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but is Jimmy back?
This
No.
is their comeuppance now for not taking the
That's
regular
right.
season seriously.
Got to play Boston.
Now
All
you gotta
right,
play
let's talk
Boston
some
first
baseball
round.
here, guys.
We will. And if you want to hear more Cavs talk, Jason and I are doing an Ultimate Cavs show today at 5 o'clock. We're going to talk about the Cavs' perception. Have they changed it in 2 games? We're going to play a new game. You guys heard of Good Cop, Bad Cop? We're going to do Good Cav, Bad Cav and take both sides of a couple different pressing questions related to the Cavs. We'll talk about some Game 3 adjustments, maybe do a little film study, but that is coming up today at 5 o'clock. So if you want more Cavs talk, make sure you guys tune in today at 5 o'clock.
How come that looks like a glamour shot on Mike and I look like the drunk guy at the party?
Blame Anthony, who's taking a dump right now.
All Jason's missing is one of those beer hat helmets.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I caught that. I caught what he said.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they said be goofy. They, we
Yeah.
had to do these shots upstairs.
Mike
They said,
that's
but
true.
Mike
That's
has like
messed up.
this
It
headshot.
Jason, if
pretty-
you want to take more headshots, we can get you
No,
more
it
headshots.
doesn't matter how many headshots
I actually
I take, it's
suggested
not
using
gonna
the
be
picture in the leather jacket, and Anthony was nice enough to say, no,
It's
let's not
not
use that.
leather. That's a terrible picture.
Guys,
I'd rather that picture, actually.
All right,
Let's talk about the
little
best-
Guardians real quick, Bull, but I want to ask you guys this very specific question.
I mean, can I say anything?
No.
You're always cutting people off.
I
around
want to
here.
ask this very specific question to start
Yes.
to make sure we get this as a jumping off
I
point.
know
then
the
we keep going.
question, but go ahead.
Fine, you could ask it then.
No.
No.
Better ask
You
it.
interrupted. So
Mike, ask it. Come
Look
on.
at this.
Has Josh Naylor surpassed Jose Ramirez as the most dangerous bat in the Guardians lineup?
Yes.
Really?
There's no doubt. Now, and Zach and I actually talked about this in the Ultimate Guardian show yesterday. Jose Ramirez is still the better all-around player because he's a better base runner and he's a good defender, whereas Josh Naylor is not a good defender. But if you ask me who's been the better hitter for the last calendar year, because Josh Naylor, if you remember, got off to a bad start last season in April. But since May of last year, Jason, Josh Naylor's been a way better hitter than Jose Ramirez. And he's more dangerous at the plate. He has more ribbies, that's one thing. But he also, if you look at 2-out RBIs, I think he's 12th in all of baseball in 2-out RBIs. Now, it's early. But this guy who's had who has not been able to play a full season, that's the one flaw in his game the last few years. If he plays a full season this year, I believe he can hit 30 home runs, and I think he'll have over 50 extra base hits. And I do believe that not just based on the first 20-something games they played this year, but I believe going back to May of last year, Josh Naylor is the best hitter on the Guardians. And this is from someone who never thought he would hit lefties.
Yeah.
That's how far I've come.
He's hit 2 home runs off lefties in the last week that I've seen, maybe more. But
He went from being unplayable, in my opinion, against lefties, and now since May of last year, he's been excellent against lefties.
do remember
He
you
didn't go
saying
from
that.
terrible to okay. He went from terrible to good.
Bull and I went round and round last year
On this
him
left,
on lefties.
yeah.
And I thought that we would come to the same conclusion.
Yes.
Like I was kind of on your side, but just said you got to give him more
And
time.
you were right. And he turned it around in
and
a
he did turn it
big-time way.
around.
So are you with me or no?
I know it's hard, isn't it?
It feels so prisoner of the moment to say that because Jose's a switch hitter, so I give him. But Josh has pounded lefties at times lately. I think I still need to. I'm not convinced to go there. I know the numbers right now. Yes, you're right, but it's still early. Jose's going to get hot. I have a hard, but you make a compelling case. Yeah. I'm really torn on this. Like, I can't definitively say one way or the other. I know that's a cop-out. But even to get to that point,
Let me
is
ask
incredible.
you this.
Yeah.
For this question,
Yeah.
are you today, like as of to like, and we
Yes.
going out there today?
If you
If
ask
the game is on the line, I got to pick
I want
my
Josh-
hitter.
I want Josh
I want
Naylor.
Josh
I want
Naylor.
Josh Naylor.
I want
That's
Josh
right.
Naylor. Yes.
If it's 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, and I'm down a run and I got a runner on base,
I want Josh
I
Naylor
want
to
Josh
play.
Naylor at the
That's
plate right now.
crazy. I never thought
That
I
I
would
will
say
agree
that.
with.
Which is, if you would have told me this a year ago, I would have said, no, not that he would have been that far down the list on this team,
Right.
but there's no way I would have said him over Jose Ramirez a year ago.
I
But
just-
right now,
I got a gut
I would.
feeling that Jose just gonna turn up at some point.
Yeah,
Like,
I think he will.
I'm not
he
saying
is getting older.
Don't get me
He
wrong.
is, but
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Jose is shot.
Right.
No, no,
I'm
no,
not
no,
saying
no, no,
anything.
no.
It's more a compliment to
Yeah.
Jose
It's a
than
it's, it's all about Josh,
Yeah.
not really about Ramirez
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yes, there's been, over the last calendar year, a little decline in Ramirez's game, but it's been more about Josh Naylor probably should have been an All-Star last year.
Yes.
At worst, he was borderline.
Yes.
And so far, it's
He will
way
be this year,
early.
the way
He's
it's
well
going.
on his way to being an All-Star this year.
What was it? Did they offer him a contract or they never did?
Okay, well, that's the next part of this conversation, Jason. And I think we've talked about this, and Zach and I talked about this yesterday, that the suggestion is that it's a 5-year, $55 million deal. Now, to me, that's a no-brainer if I'm the Guardians. Even if, first of all, the Guardians are in a unique position with Josh Naylor because he's not the type of, as good as he is, he's not the type of player that's going to get a huge contract because he's really a DH. And DHs, even though he's young, or youngish, don't get big money generally. He has flaws as a player. He's not very good defensively. He's not a terrible base runner, but he's not a base stealer, and he's not a great base runner. But the man hits in big spots.
Yeah.
And he's just a good hitter. And now that he's shown you for a year he can hit lefties, I would sign him to an extension. And if I could get, even if I've got to pay more than 55, even if it's, let's say, $13 million a year, which is what, 65, 5 to 65. Was that? Yeah, 65. Right. I would do it, Jason. Even if I believe if they sign him to a 5-year deal, I think he turns 28 in the middle of the season. So in theory, it's his age 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 seasons. Even if he's in a decline those last 2 years at 31 and 32, I think you'd get more than $13 million a year worth of value the next 3 years. That I would do it. I think he is an important part of this team. He's a leader. He's a freaking animal out there. He gives them momentum and energy. You know he wants to play with his brother. I think if the Guardians make him a reasonable extension offer, I believe he will sign it. And they should. They should absolutely not move on from Josh Naylor, even though it has some risks because he's been injury prone and his body type doesn't lend to a guy who's going to be good for into his 30s too long. But to me, it's a no-brainer to lock him up. What say you guys?
I think it depends on the rest of the lineup. I mean, if you say you didn't and you lost him, what person is you replacing him with?
Kyle Manzardo. That's why they made the trade.
See,
but
I gotta see that first, and
Jason,
whenever he makes it to the majors,
why can't I have Manzardo as the first baseman and Josh as the DH?
Because you can.
Yes.
It's too late. I think it's too late for Josh.
You think he's going to be worth more? He's going to get more than that?
I don't think he's going to sign. He's got 1 year. Why sign now? You're 1 year out. He's got 1 year, one more year of arbitration.
Okay, you may be right, but how much more is he going to get than what I'm saying? Is he getting? He's a DH.
You'd be shocked.
But when you're a player,
yeah,
and you're in this position, and
yes.
you've been under team control all these years, and you look and say, I've made $14 million in my career, which is, by baseball standards, not a ton, but certainly enough to live comfortably for the rest of your life. I've made $14 million. I'm 1 year away from free agency. Let's see what I can do.
His brother's here.
You think that plays a role?
That
Both
his brother's here?
Yeah, both brothers.
I mean,
you would do that? You would leave the family?
For an extra $10 million? Yes. For sure.
What if he were a free agent right now? What do you think he'd get?
Jose the leader left the money on the table.
Jose's like the only one.
It's a new day and age.
And there's a whole other cultural thing that I don't really want to get into on who takes the deals and who doesn't with the Guardians.
Well, we can get into it. The Latin players take the deals.
The Latin players take the deals.
Because generally they come from poorer conditions.
And the American players typically don't, usually don't. And when you get this close to the end, when you're this close to free agency, why sell yourself short if you're a player? So I'm looking strictly from Josh's side of this. Why sell yourself short? That offer will still be there. If I have another big year, that offer will still be there from the Guardians.
Yeah,
so maybe they got to pay him more.
So let me go out and test the market and see what I can get. And if I can't get any more, I'd love to come back and play with my brother.
That's what he better do.
But
listen,
and Miles is with the A's. That's my bad. It's not both brothers, just one brother. My bad.
But the window, I think, to get these deals done is 2 years ago.
Right.
Once you hit arbitration years and they start making more, he's making $6 million this year. Once you start making real money, it's hard to get these deals done. Right. And that's why teams are signing these guys before they take their first major league at bat. Guys are signing contracts. Now you're talking about signing a guy who's breaking out and playing the best baseball of his career, and he's 1 year from free agency.
So what if last year when he started trending up, why didn't they
I thought last year he was on my list last year. I did a list. If you got, I don't know if you guys remember. I went and tried finding comps.
Yeah.
And Jimenez was on the list. McKenzie was on the list. Actually, Oscar Gonzalez was on the list. Thank God they didn't do that one. and Naylor was on the list. And Naylor is a hard one to pin down. Sort of what you said.
Yeah.
He's had one major injury that he's overcome. Obviously, he's not an outfielder anymore. They tried him in the outfield, and that was a disaster. He is more of a DH, and I really think the Manzardo trade was their insurance policy, knowing it's probably too late on Josh. We have to have someone else to come up behind him. It's a lot easier to replace a DH and a first baseman. You can rotate guys through the DH slot. Ideally, of course you want both. Yes.
Yeah.
You want Manzardo smoking right now in Columbus.
Yeah,
so you want Manzardo and Naylor in that lineup, for sure. But realistically, I think the Guardians are looking at this and saying he's 1 year out. He's not going to take our offer. We have to have a contingency plan.
What if they offered him 5 for $75? You think he takes that? There's no way he's getting more than that.
Probably not. Probably not. But I don't know that they're going to offer that.
Yeah.
Well, they can offer it. He's still going to test it. And
when you're a year, I mean, imagine you're a year out.
I'm definitely testing.
You're testing.
Absolutely.
And
most guys will. It's a
I
fair
need to
point.
know. I need to know where I stand.
I think too many times fans look at this as from the team perspective of, well, why won't you take the money?
Right.
And when you put yourself in the player's shoes,
Right. If you believe in yourself.
and you believe in yourself, and you know that you're playing the best baseball of your career, you've already been traded once. You've never been in control of your own
He's
career.
actually been traded twice because he got drafted originally by the Marlins.
I forgot about that.
Baseball is different, though. It ain't like football. Football, you get literally one chance to hit the big contract.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case in baseball. It's guys.
For him,
Naylor's
it's going
only-
to be. It's
I guess for him,
He's got one
I
shot.
guess for his situation,
He's got one shot.
Then,
with his
he's
age.
1,000% better
Yeah.
tested.
Yeah.
The only guys that get, only the super duper stars get
multiple
more than one
Or
chance.
if you come up
Early, young age.
If you're 20, 21
Yeah.
when you break in and you can hit free agency at 27,
Right.
then maybe you can get back in at 32, something
Yeah.
like that, and get one more big deal. But Josh is going to get one shot at this. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him either.
It's too bad. It would be a shame to not see him on the team.
It's not like
'cause
they're
he's an
going.
important guy on this team.
It's not like they're gonna pull it off. Well, if Kyle come up here and kills it,
No, they won't pull it. I don't think they'll pull
don't
it unless he
think?
gets hurt. No, you're not going to pull the offer.
Well, you think they've actually made him an offer?
Yeah. So I haven't done as much work on this one
Yeah.
as I did Shane. I would defer to Zach. Zach would know that situation much better
Yeah.
than I would. I don't know. All I know is I would imagine they made an offer. They made an offer to other guys. And
Yeah.
when he was asked about it over the winter, he said, go talk to the front office.
Yeah.
So my guess is, like they made an offer to Quan. How are you going to make an offer to
Yeah,
Quan
right.
and not make an offer to Josh? My guess is he felt like it was a low ball offer.
Yeah. Zach made the point yesterday. It was a good point that Naylor just this week talked about how he wants to play with Quan for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
And obviously he wants to play with his brother. So I'm sure all things being equal, he'd want to stay here.
I would imagine. Yeah.
But
I mean,
the Guardians have to pay him fairly.
there's Mike Clevenger, I think, talked about this when he was traded, that like when you come up with the Guardians, you know you're going to get traded. Like you just know.
yeah,
They're not going
for
to pay you.
a pitcher, absolutely.
You're going to play here X number of years, and they're going to move on, and they're going to trade you for another package. And that was like the first player I thought that like said the quiet part out loud. You just know when you come to this organization, more or less. And the only reason Jose didn't get traded is because he literally took, I can't remember now, tens of millions less. I don't remember the exact figure of what
Right.
he would have gotten.
Yes.
But Jose is very much protected and sheltered here. They don't make him talk to the media every day. He hardly ever talks.
Can he speak English?
Oh,
Yes.
perfectly.
Of course.
Really?
Yes.
I always thought he couldn't
Yes.
speak English.
Jason, I told you all this last
He
year.
wants you to think that.
Really?
One day he was in the gym I worked out at, and he was talking to someone in English, and someone went over for a picture, and he said, "No hablo inglés."
Yeah.
Like literally with having a conversation with the guy who's working out.
Oh my
Someone came over and
gosh!
asked for a picture. Just
I'm
goes, "No
surprised
hablo
he's
inglés."
working out at a public gym.
That man is
And I took a
hilarious.
picture. It was the most not with them. Just I was like, "This is Jose." It was completely random.
Jose
random.
No, he
speaks
speaks
English.
He speaks perfect
Oh my goodness, he got me fooled. I really thought he couldn't speak because I swear after a game he had the translator standing there.
Yeah,
so I'm just like,
but you know what? Like, I don't knock him for that. Like, you feel when you're doing an interview and you're on
right,
camera
right.
or whatever.
But when
you
he's
want to make
talking with
sure.
the guys.
Oh, everybody,
out of pocket.
everybody understands him perfectly.
Jose
yeah,
out
in the
of
clubhouse.
pocket for this one.
In an interview, there's some nuance, that he maybe
Yes.
can
Yeah.
get
You
lost
want to
in
use a
translation.
translator? Fine.
Yeah.
But he can speak English. I mean, he's been here for like 10 years.
I mean, come on.
You got to pick up something.
Yeah.
So
That
he
just
does,
blew my mind. Wow.
He does just fine. But he loved Cleveland. He knows he's got it good here in terms of responsibilities and duties, and he's just left alone to do his thing. So he took literally tens of millions of dollars less, or they would have traded him.
Guardians start a series with the Red Sox tonight in Cleveland, and it'll be a 3-game set.
I got a question, and then Mike Hargrove is supposed to be joining us here any second. Jason, what is the number the Guardians could offer Naylor where he would say, okay, I'm not even going to consider testing the open market?
I think it was 5 for 75 is what I said.
100
You
million.
think that would be enough or no?
I think you're getting there.
100 million.
75, 80.
Oh, if they offered him 100 million, he'd definitely stay.
But again, like, you've worked your whole career, you're a year out.
Yeah.
And it's different for hitters than it is pitchers. Like, the risk of a catastrophic injury as a hitter is far less than it is, obviously, with a pitcher and Tommy John and torn this and that. As a hitter, take your chances, man. Hit the open market.
Right.
And then if it doesn't go the way you think it is, you can always go back.
But look, Bieber might never get that contract.
Bieber probably won't get that contract.
Do you think they give him a 1 year? Like,
I think I'm seeing a big time contract.
Not with us. It won't be.
Well, no, I think he could do a 1+1, 2-year, $12 million deal.
Okay.
And $6
And
million.
if he pitches great
They still ain't
for the
gonna
year
pay.
and a half,
They still ain't gonna
then
pay
he
him.
might get a good, but he's never going to get what he would have gotten.
Probably not.
And if he's not great, then he's going to get nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Go ahead,
and that's
Mike.
why
We're
with
still
pitchers,
waiting for
take
Mike
the money.
Hargrove, so we'll bring him in as soon as we get him. But there was a clip that I found online this weekend that I had to show you guys.
Yeah.
We did a whole segment when the Browns signed Jameis Winston on things you're going to love about Jameis Winston.
Right.
He's a character. If you guys haven't seen this clip of Jameis Winston from the
I
weekend,
saw it.
I'm going to add this to the list of reasons
I don't think
why
I've
you
seen
guys
it.
will love Jameis Winston, why he's going to be a fan favorite in Cleveland. This is Jameis interviewing a fish.
Fish, slap away, swim away, fish. You're not going nowhere. We got you on the boat right now. What do you have to say for yourself? Your cousin came. Your cousin came. Well, we have it, folks. We just cut the line. We have 2 family members of the tuna. If you were wondering, I asked the question too. Why do fish flap when they're out the water? A wise friend told me that they're just simply trying to swim away. Well, fish, how does it work swimming in the air? They didn't really have a response. Sometimes no response is the best response at all.
I don't really find that funny, Mike.
He's going.
How do you not find that funny?
gonna
Because,
kill it
like,
in the podcast
I know we don't.
game.
I know, like, we're not supposed to care about animals, but the reason the animal is flapping is because he's being choked to death, essentially.
I mean, he's fishing. Every time you eat a fish, the fish is dead.
I know, but, like, I don't know. I think we should have, like,
Cruelty to animals?
some level of
I don't know.
respect for another life that is being taken away. Like,
Go join PETA, cook that thing up, and put it on my plate.
it's not about PETA. I'm not a PETA person. But, like, I don't know. It just.
No, I hear what you're saying.
I know what you're
it's
saying.
kinda-
I get
I
what
don't
you're
know.
saying.
You know, it's just like.
we should have more respect to animals and,
Yes.
and life forms and stuff like that. But
Now, listen, trust me, I eat plenty of animals, but
You eat fish, right?
of course.
Yeah, so
But
anytime you eat tuna, that's
But
the
I don't
point.
think the fishermen catching fish, like the commercial fishermen, are like making jokes about the fish dying.
Just cut its head off and be
what
done
if
with
he?
it.
Yeah.
What if he throws it back?
It's too late. The fish was dead by the end.
You don't
The
know
one
about that.
He's still
was.
flopping
The other one was
around.
still flapping and still opening his
Yeah,
leg.
he
You
could
can
just be
throw that
taking a
back.
nap.
And like, he didn't know why the fish flap around. What is wrong with him?
He said he asked that question. It was probably younger.
I think he was joking.
Yeah,
I
come
don't
on,
know.
Bull. Be better.
He's gonna be brilliant at when he's done.
He's
playing,
funny, but that I don't know. I just
it's
found
gonna
that a
be
little
crazy for
weird.
him.
We still don't have Mike Hargrove, so you guys want to talk a little NFL draft as we wait?
Sure, let's go.
All right, well, let me do a FanDuel read here to get you
Yeah.
guys ready for the NFL draft. It is playoff time in the NBA, in the NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150. Win or lose, you can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe and secure. Plus, it's easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And our second winning ticket of the day comes from our guy, Dion Flores, who made a bunch of money on the Ryan Garcia-Devin Haney fight this weekend. He had Garcia winning in multiple different fashions, and he ended up winning a bunch of different money. $29 on one bet, $80 on another bet. So shout out to Dion Flores for winning some money with FanDuel. All right, guys, let us talk about the NFL draft.
Random fight. Two people nobody heard of.
Listen, first of all, everybody knows that I go to bed at 10 o'clock and I'm asleep by 11. That fight didn't come on to like 11:45.
Why do these fights start at midnight, 1 in the morning?
I don't know. I hate it too. But
so
I
stupid.
stayed up and I had a ticket. Mine's was, I only bet one thing. I bet that Ryan Garcia would win by KO or TKO, which I wish I would have just took him on the money line. I would have won. But I'm sitting there watching. I've never been a huge Devin Haney fan. I always thought
I'm a huge Devin Haney fan.
No, you're not. If you ever, because when he fought Lomachenko, I said he shouldn't have won that fight. I know you have no idea what I'm saying.
No clue.
But listen, he shouldn't have won the fight. Lomachenko was tearing him up at the end of that fight.
Is Lomachenko the last name, or is his first name Loma and his last name Chenko?
The NFL draft is on Thursday, Bull. We're gonna save yourself from embarrassment in the boxing world.
You got to start watching boxing.
Yeah. No, boxing's dead to me.
So, with the Browns on the clock at 54, I wanted to do a big picture look at Andrew Berry. We know he's hit on defensive backs. We know he has not hit on wide receivers. What other position groups outside of those two do you have the most confidence in Andrew Berry and the Browns as a collection, identifying talent at the positions they're selecting?
Before we get to that, Mike, I got to talk about what you just said there with defensive back. Do you guys believe that for whatever reason, Andrew Berry is able to analyze corners well and not analyze wide receivers well? Or is it some just coincidence, luck, whatever you want to call it? What do you believe when it comes to that?
I don't think it's coincidence because, they keep hitting these. Martin Emerson was a freaking steal when they got him. And the undrafted guys that they –
Ronnie Hickman,
Go
Cam
Bucks.
Mitchell.
I would argue Greg Newsome was not worth the pick he was drafted at.
Whoa.
He's not a first-round caliber player.
Whoa.
I'd have to go back and look at the corners who were drafted after him.
I mean, he was drafted in the first round. He's not worth a first-round pick.
Yeah, because he switches positions.
Because he's not good enough as an outside corner.
That's not necessarily true. He played outside this year and he was fine.
He got beat on a couple of
shut up. He did. God damn.
But,
Killing me, Smokes.
Well, he's one of the 20 best players in the draft. He is.
He's one of the 20 best players in that draft?
Yeah.
I need
Sure
to know.
about that? How do you figure that out that quickly?
What
Mike?
year did he get drafted?
2021.
I need to know the other
How
corners.
are you figuring that out in 1 minute?
I mean, I just looked through it.
You scanned through the entire draft?
Can you give me some more corners in that first round?
Well, just corners, or you just want
I
players
just want,
in general?
I just want corners.
Mike, it's taken us off path. I've taken us off path. Don't worry about it.
No, please do.
No, don't worry about it, because this is the question I want to get to. Is that you're right. Even if I am right about Greg Newsome, which I think I am, but okay, you say I'm wrong.
Wait, can I say one thing on Greg
Go
Newsome
ahead.
real quick?
Go
The
ahead.
DBs picked right after him.
Yeah.
In the first and second round after him. Eric Stokes of Green Bay.
He's okay.
Tyson Campbell of Jacksonville. Richie Grant of
Campbell's
Atlanta.
good. Campbell's good.
Kelvin Joseph of Dallas. Asante Samuel Jr. And
I don't know. He's better.
that is
isn't he?
it.
Asante Samuel?
Those are all.
But I would take
DBs
Greg
like that.
over them.
Okay, I don't know. It really doesn't matter. The point is that he's mostly gotten it right at corner
Yes.
and gotten everything wrong at wide receiver. You don't get credit for Amari Cooper. Stop it. Everybody on the planet knows Amari Cooper's a good player.
You get credit for what you gave up.
Now, yes, I'll give him credit for that because
Yeah.
they gave up nothing.
Yeah.
And Amari was coming off his one down year in the NFL, but everybody knew. But everything else he's done at wide receiver has been a bust. To this point, he's drafted 3 wide receivers in the 3rd round. They all look useless. Tillman still has a chance. He traded for Elijah Moore. That was a terrible trade at this point. No? You dropped out of the 2nd round for a guy who's at best the 3rd receiver. At best. And I don't even think he is. Is that unfair?
Go on.
Okay. So what is do you believe? We know Andrew Berry is super duper smart. We all know that. There's no debating that. What is he doing at corner that he's not doing at wide receiver? And do you think going into this year
Let me ask you
he has changed the way he is analyzing wide receivers.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Wasn't him and Kevin both DBs when they played?
Yes.
Okay, so that right there is half the battle.
yes.
So
All right.
it takes one to know what
But
it
shouldn't
was.
a DB have a good feel for what it takes to be a good wide receiver, or what a good wide receiver looks like?
Theoretically, yes.
Right?
But, like I say, you can't say that he hasn't tried. He's taken 3 different receivers.
Right, but he's gotten it wrong every time.
But they're not, at least they're different. Different type of
I don't
receivers.
think he gets credit for that when they're wrong.
I agree. Wait a minute. We can't. There's only one of them that we can definitively say is done.
Schwartz is done.
He's done. That's
David
it.
Bell, it's like 99%.
David Bell had 3 touchdowns in
And
2
Cedric
games.
Tillman, I'll say, is still up in the air. I'll give you that.
Okay. Yes.
Elijah Moore, at best, is still up in the air. I think it's done, and it was a bad move. But what is it? What is he doing wrong? And do you think he spent this offseason saying, "Hey, I keep getting it wrong. Specific. This has been my biggest Achilles heel is wide receiver. I have to go about finding different. I'm analyzing wide receivers as wrong."
Yeah, clearly. He needs to go. I think that not just him, whoever's in that draft room.
Yeah.
That's it.
They got to figure it out
Because-
because they keep missing.
Yes.
It's not y'all. We blame AB, but there are also guys who sit. I know this for a fact. It's people whose job is to sit there and scout wide receiver talent that's coming out of college.
Yep.
I know this because I went to O State and I watched them do it in there, and I went to the league and I watched the scouting department do it there.
Right.
So they print their reports and they say this guy is good at this, this, and this. This guy should be a sure thing. And AB looks at it. He looks at the tape. He sees the same things that they see. And he goes, it should translate. For some odd reason, when they get here, they're missing the big key thing, and I don't know what that is. But it's not just all AB. It's a whole department that's missing on just wide receiver.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's his name on it, so he gets all the credit or all the blame. But I'll give you an NBA example from when I was covering the league. When the Cavs drafted Anthony Bennett, number 1 overall, the vote within the organization, I put this in the book, the vote within the organization was 9-1 to take Anthony Bennett. You know the biggest proponent for taking Anthony Bennett was David Griffin. You know the person who did not want to take Anthony Bennett? Chris Grant, the GM, did not want to take him.
Remind us who he wanted to take.
Victor Oladipo, Dan wanted Oladipo. Chris's choices weren't much better. It was a terrible draft. Who did he want?
That was the Giannis draft.
It was the Giannis
He
draft.
wanted
Otto Porter
Giannis
Jr. was
Antetokounmpo.
No, keep going. He wanted. There was another guard who I just got into trouble
There
recently.
was somebody good, no good also.
CJ McCollum.
No, I don't remember now.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I got the draft class. Hold on, this is gonna fascinate me. Bennett, Ben McLemore is who you're thinking of.
it was McLemore.
He
was between McLemore and one other one. He did not want Bennett, but the organization, the vote internally, and Griff's actually the one that told me this. Griff's the one that confessed to it, that it was a 9-1 vote. Chris was the one vote that didn't want to take Bennett, and it is the biggest punchline to Chris's career. Is he's the one who drafted Anthony Bennett, and he got fired for it. I mean, he didn't even want the guy. So I say that only to say sometimes we put too much credit and too much blame on the guy whose name is attached to the pick. When there's a whole department behind him. Tyvus is right. There's a whole department behind him standing on the table saying, this is the guy. This is the guy. And then it's Andrew's job to take this information, this information, this information. And he hasn't scouted these guys as much as some of these other guys have. And he's the one that he's on the hook for the pick.
And that's fair, but what choice do we have? I mean, we don't know the person that's making the decision. So Andrew Berry's going to get credit for the wins, and he
take the L's for the
losses.
But within the organization, clearly there seems to be a blind spot.
Yes, they don't know how to evaluate, and that's got to change. Like a lot of fans want the Browns to take a wide receiver in the second round. I'd be happy if they took one in the second round. I know G. Bush was on here yesterday saying they have to take a wide receiver in the second round. But do you trust them to get it right? I like Andrew Berry. I think overall he's a solid GM. I think they're smart enough to know they got to do things differently. But I'm going to be a little antsy about the wide receiver they draft.
This is what I will say. As an organization, we haven't gotten it right. Outside of Josh Gordon, that's the only one we ever got right.
No, but you know what? In the end, they got that wrong.
No, they did. Stop it. They got that one wrong because of the off the field stuff.
Talent.
But when he played, he was special.
1 year.
The talent was there.
Yeah.
Okay, they got it right, and that was in a supplemental
Yeah, but that
draft.
was like a decade ago.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah.
It was like what 3 people in that draft. So how could you mess that up anyways? But historically, we just haven't been good at getting wide receivers. So if he does ever get it right, like that puts him above a lot of people. And I think he got if you're in the second round this year, and it's such as a heavy wide receiver class, it should be hard to miss. Because all of these wide receivers, all of the way these draft experts say, it's so many of them. They're loaded at the wide receiver position.
But
so find the one that fits something that you don't have, and that's a skill set that translates.
But are you gonna do you have faith that they will be able to find the right guy?
I think you can only mess up so many times before you figure out something.
Okay, I hope so.
When you go to the club, I'm going to do a G. Bush analogy.
Yeah, I love this.
You go to the club, all right? It's 10 o'clock. You got your pick of anything you want in the club.
Yeah.
If you wait till 1:30, lights are starting to come on. They're playing closing time. Now you're scrambling. Now you're looking for what's left. At 10, she's a 2. At 2, she's a 10.
Yeah.
So the Browns.
Jason sounds like he's a man talking with experience. That's
So
some college experience right there.
And we've already gone through the list
Yeah.
of who have they really missed on with the guys that they've taken. It's
Right.
not a long list of guys that they missed on because it was 2 o'clock and there weren't a lot of 10s left. But if you go in the second round, there should be more fish in the sea that you got a bigger target to hit at. So I would have a little bit more confidence if they shoot in the second round than in the third. It doesn't sound like much of a difference, but we've done on the show. We've gone through. The list is like 2 guys, Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Those are the 2 guys that they missed on.
Well, but
out of all of these drafts and all of these picks and all these receivers that were taken after the guys they took.
But the Browns could have had a second-round pick last year, and they decided Elijah Moore was more valuable.
Yes, but my point is from where they're picking in the draft and when they're targeting receivers, there's not a lot left to pick from. Go earlier. If you do draft in the second round, I would have more confidence that they're going to hit it because the target's bigger.
All right, we're going to switch gears and talk baseball. Mike Hargrove, former, at the time, of course, the Indians player and manager, was around Major League Baseball, of course, forever. And now he joins us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and we'll bring him up. How you doing, Mike? Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Sorry I was so late. I just now got the email and was able to.
It's all good.
Join you. Looking forward to it.
We appreciate it, and I'm curious. When you look at all the new rules in baseball, and especially with your reputation as a player, what do you think about the pitch clock specifically, and all the other new rules in Major League Baseball?
Well, there's a lot of them I don't like, but the pitch clock, it's people won't believe this, but it wouldn't bother me. I kind of like to see this thing. The fact of the matter is, I would I would like to see the pitch clock lengthened by about 5 seconds, but from my understanding, they shortened it. But I don't think I'd have had any problem with that thing. I just I took the time that I took, and it worked for me. And but I like it. The games move along a little bit better, and so I like that. But the other rules, I'm not real sure about. They seem to go against the grain.
Mike, you've been a manager before. What was your biggest challenge in your first year, taking over a new team, being a manager? Because obviously Stephen Vogt is going through that this year. So what was the biggest challenges?
Well, it looks like Stephen's doing a pretty good job. I think the biggest problem is let me think about it, because you have to manage personalities as much as anything else, and I've found that drawing the line between letting the players be players and be themselves, draw the line between that and enforcing your rules and getting them focused in was probably the biggest thing that I had to adjust to. I'd never really had to deal with things like that, but it worked out good. I mean, I had a good bunch of guys when I was in Cleveland. I had a good bunch of guys that loved to play, they loved to win, they loved to compete, and they also loved to have a good time. Yeah. So, but they knew that they knew when it was time to joke around, and then they knew when it was game time. They absolutely turned it on and were focused completely on what their jobs were.
Mike, one thing I've always wanted to ask you, when you managed this team, the lineup was the same every day and the same guys played every day. I think you were famous for saying, like, starters are starters for a reason. And now lineups are so different, and positionality is such a big thing, and flexibility and wanting guys to play different spots. Which way is better, do you think?
Oh, I think starters being starters, they're starters for a reason. I think that's the best way to go. You have to obviously you've got your 2 or 3 players that need a little bit of playing time to stay sharp. But I was fortunate in my time in Cleveland that the 2 main guys I had was Wayne Kirby and Alvaro Espinoza, and they were both great at their jobs. They knew their jobs, they knew their responsibilities, and they kept themselves ready to play. So I didn't have to worry a lot of times about playing them just to keep them sharp. I could use them to give guys a day off and to keep them energized. And a day off in baseball is more of a mental day off than anything. These guys are in great shape. They're mentally and physically they're ready to go. 162 games. But there are times mentally they just need a day off to kind of refresh. And Alvaro and Wayne were very good at being able to play multiple positions and give us that luxury.
So funny because in those days, to your point, like growing up as a kid, like you knew the really good pinch hitters in baseball when you were a fan. Like, I grew up in New York, and even though I wasn't a Mets fan, like everybody knew Rusty Staub, right? Like Rusty Staub would come in, he'd pinch hit, and then the Mets would pinch run for him because he could barely move at the end of his career. I don't even think those guys really don't exist anymore. Like this, like if you said to me who's a good pinch hitter now, there might be some guys, but I would have no clue off the top of my head who they are because there's no specialization like that anymore. And you talked about the guys you had, but like everybody knew Rusty Staub, even though that's all he did was pinch hit at the end of his career.
Rusty Staub was always a really good hitter.
Yeah.
During his career, and the Mets at that time had the luxury to be able to use Rusty just as a pinch hitter. And again, when he hit and he got on base, and they pinch ran for him.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is that you're using 2 players for one position,
That's
and that kind of stretches you out a little bit. But we were fortunate in Cleveland that there wasn't a whole lot of reason for us to go with a pinch hitter. I can't ever remember pinch hitting anybody for Albert Bell or Jim Thome, so it was a little different.
Mike, now that we're talking about hitting, I want to ask you about the Guardians hitting. Over the past couple of years, they haven't been really doing well hitting, but this season they seem to have been really good at doing that. What do you think changed or went into this offseason that's helped them become a better hitting team?
Well, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is experience. You see Stephen, who had a great rookie season. He fell off a little bit the next year, but now he's back going great guns this year. I think that the experience that they've gained over the last couple of years has had a lot to do with their ability to move a baseball. The Indians have had good pitching for a while, and the problem has been the fact that scoring runs. But it seems like that Ramirez has gotten a little bit more help in the lineup. Naylor's swinging the bat well, and other guys in the lineup. So I think really that for me it's more experience than anything else, and realizing how to hit in the big leagues because it is a different animal.
Stephen Kwan in particular is kind of a throwback player. I mean, he's a little like Brett Butler-esque, I guess, but like the classic lead. He's a classic leadoff hitter. I mean, he doesn't have huge speed, but he's got decent speed. But again, that's another thing when you manage, certainly when you played, like. The leadoff hitter would be a speed guy, a guy who could bunt, you weren't getting a lot of home runs out of the leadoff spot until Ricky Henderson came around, I guess. But Stephen Kwan is kind of a throwback player, don't you think?
Yeah, I really do. He uses the whole field, which kind of goes against the grain of the trend of Major League Baseball in the last 10 or 15 years. Uses the whole field. He's a smart player. He's a smart hitter, and he's a good base runner. good heavens, when I played, they had to drive stakes in the ground in front of me to make sure I was moving forward. But I led off, a number of years, and the big thing is getting on base and kind of setting the table for the big guns later in the lineup.
By the way, did Tito, when he decided to retire, did he, because like you, he's a baseball lifer, did he reach out to you and say, like, what do I do? Like, how do I handle retirement? Or did that not happen?
No, that didn't happen. Tito is Tito's man. He's his own man. He doesn't need my advice or help. I think everybody's retirement for everybody is different.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I like to play golf, though it's a money-losing operation right now. But yeah, Tito's doing well. He'll do well whatever he does. He's a good man.
Mike, I got to ask you, 97 series, losing to the Marlins, what do you say when you go back in the clubhouse? And we've all heard the stories about how they were prepping and they were putting up the tarps and everything. They're getting ready for the celebration. And then they had to scurry back in and tear them all down and everything. But as the manager of that team, when that game's over and that series is over, what do you say to those guys?
Well, I think you've got to gather your own thoughts because you're as crushed as they are. I was sitting in my office, getting ready to go in and talk to him, and got a phone call, and it was the President Clinton's secretary said, "You have a phone call from the President of the United States," and I was of the mind right there, and my first thought was, "Why the hell is he calling me?" And so anyway, it was usually it'd be something you think, holy mackerel, this dude, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't really into that call when he called. you tell him the manner in which we lost was so dramatic, and you just tell them that they and they played well, they fought well, all season long. It's such a grind, no matter how good a team you have, no matter how good they are. The season is a grind, and you just let them know that you're proud of them, that they gave it everything they had. It just the ball didn't bounce our way, and those things happen. I had a guy ask me about 4 or 5 months later, asked me how long it took me to get over that loss and the manner in which we lost. And I told him that just as soon as it happened, I'd let him know. Yeah. And then somebody asked me about 5 years later the same thing, and I said, well, just as soon as it happens, I'll let you know. So it's something you don't necessarily get over, but you certainly have to deal with it.
Did they think they were calling the winning manager? Is that why the president's office?
No, I think at the time the kind of tradition at that time was the president called both sides. So
okay.
And I enjoyed the call. How many times do you get to talk to the president of the United States? Yeah. Even if you don't agree with his politics, it's still an honor. And but it was a good phone call.
Mike, right now the Guardians sit at the top of baseball with the best record in baseball. They win the World Series this year if they do what?
Oh gosh, they win the World Series this year if they keep their losing streaks to a minimum and their winning streaks to a maximum. I mean, it's and that's very simplistic, but they need to keep doing what they're doing and not try to do extra, and that's a hard thing for an athlete, especially when you compete at that level. To get that idea in their mind that what you do is good enough. If you take care of what you do, the special things will happen. And, players, especially young players, get in trouble by trying to do a little bit more than what they're capable of doing every day and consistently doing it. If they just stay in that mode that, things are going good, we need to continue to do what we're doing, throw strikes, stay ahead of the hitter, have smart base running, catch the ball, which they're doing really well. They'll be okay. They've got a good young team, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Mike, last thing, when Albert Bell ran into Fernando Vina, what were you thinking in that moment, and what was it like? He was so intimidating from an outside perspective. Like he didn't like to talk to the media, and he's kind of loosened up. I feel like in the last year or two, he's finally talking to the media. But he was always, from an outside perspective, very intimidating. But what was that moment like, and what was it like for you managing him?
Well, the moment was I thought, wow, what a great play. I mean,
It was.
Fernando Green, he shouldn't have gotten his way. He should have just tagged him and got out of the way. And the runner's job is, at that time, is to break up a double play. And if the guy's going to stand there in front of you, you do what Albert did. People talk about that being a dirty. I watch on YouTube every now and then the 30 most dirty plays in baseball, and that clip is always on there. That wasn't a dirty play. That was just a good, hard, baseball.
Yeah.
And I was completely in Albert's corner, still am on that. He did what he was supposed to do. As far as managing Albert, Albert and I got along good. I mean, we did. We didn't begin with, but we finally came to a spot in our relationship to where it worked for both of us. I tried to stay like a step ahead of Albert and see if any trouble was coming. If it was, and I tried. I did what I could to mitigate that. But Albert was fine. Albert was he was very intense and a very private person. Didn't trust anybody, and especially the media. And there were times, Albert's problems more than anything was during the off season when he didn't have baseball to concentrate on. I don't know of many people that chased down Halloween trick or treaters in their car, but that was Albert.
Mike, I got two quick ones I got to ask now that we're on the subject to Albert. The cork bat incident, did you know it was corked? And just take me through that whole thing.
Well, I knew that Albert had used cork bats probably about 2 weeks prior to this incident. And I met with him and I told him, Albert, you there's no reason for you to use a cork bat. You hit the ball farther than anybody, so you don't need that. And the only thing that's going to happen if you get caught, then people are going to question the offensive numbers you put up. So I really don't want you to use it anymore. And he said, okay. Obviously, he didn't listen to me. It was a mess. It was a mess, but we got through it.
And then I don't know if you saw the clip yesterday, Aaron Boone getting ejected from the Yankees game
right.
when he didn't even talk. He didn't say a word. I'm just wondering.
And that was a veteran umpire.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, first of all, your reaction to that, and then secondly, what's the angriest you ever got at an umpire? Do you remember?
Well, my reaction to Aaron getting kicked out is that he has a reputation of those kind of confrontations, which I admire in a manager. There's very few times anymore in baseball with replay that you have the chance to go out and argue calls. And I think there are very few instances nowadays to where a manager can exhibit that he has the player's back. So what happened? I've never been a fan of the umpire that ejected him, but obviously he had Aaron targeted and wanted just an excuse to get rid of him, and he got it, even though it was the wrong thing. The maddest I've ever been, in the playoffs, we had Doc Gooden on the mound, and Joe Brinkman was behind the plate, and Doc was throwing good low strikes, and Joe was calling them balls, and they were obviously strikes. Joe thought they were low, and so I went out. Anyway, I ended up getting kicked out of the game in the first inning of the playoff game, and I was mad. So I'm walking back up to my office. I usually went back up to my office and changed my shirt and everything, and came back down and stood down down in the runway back in below the dugout where I could keep track of what was going on. And there was this big 10-gallon bucket sitting by the door, and I thought it was empty. And I hauled off and kicked it and found out that it was 3/4 full of water. Don't kick 9 gallons of water in a bucket. I mean, I thought I broke every bone in my leg, especially my big toe. So I was mad then. I kind of got over that when that happened, and just stayed short for a few days. That was the maddest I ever got. I thought we were really getting the job, and I couldn't understand why.
Great stuff. We appreciate all the great years of those great teams that you led. We appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
You bet. I'm sorry I was so late, guys. I just things on my end just didn't come around, but I appreciate the time. You guys stay good.
Thank you too. Absolutely. Mike Hargrove, great manager of the then Cleveland Indians.
He was my favorite player when I was a kid.
Oh, he was a good player.
He was my favorite player.
Why didn't you tell him?
Good player. Great manager. We got to get to our next
Chris
guest.
Rose, our next guest, is going to be with us in a second.
Got a quick read
Guardians
if you want to
fan,
go.
of course.
Yeah, if you want to go to a baseball game this year, no better place to buy your tickets than on Game Time. Game Time's now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Game Time has killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, making Game Time the easiest and no guesswork option to buy Major League Baseball tickets. You can take the guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And with that, we welcome in Chris Rose to the show. How you doing today, Chris?
I am great, guys. Yeah, the human rain delay was one of my favorite players, too. I'm happy he doesn't speak as slowly as he did getting into the batter's box.
As a kid, I hated Pat Tabler. Because he replaced my car. I just had irrational hatred.
Pat Tabler was Mr. Bases Loaded. Come on.
He was the replacement to Mike Hargrove. In my mind, at least.
Got it. How we doing today, boys? We doing all right?
You ready for the Cavs?
You ready for the Cavs? You got the Guardians hat.
Yes.
Are you hearing that echo, Chris, or was it only us that were hearing it?
I don't know. I'm not hearing it, but I can probably plug in some headphones here somewhere along the line. Let's see if I'm doing that. Okay. Hold on.
I was hearing the echo as well. It wasn't just you.
I think
How's
that's
that?
the problem.
How's that? Is that better?
Much better.
That's
Much
it.
better.
That fixed the problem. Hey, Chris, I don't know if you probably didn't hear the beginning of the interview with Hargrove, but because of his reputation, of course, as you said, the human rain delay, I asked him what he thought of the pitch clock rule because it makes the batter be ready also much quicker. And surprisingly, he said he liked it. He said it's the only new rule in baseball that he likes.
Yeah, I mean, it's sped up the tempo of the game. I get it. The one thing we're not going to know is what it means to pitchers' health. We're not going to know that for a decade or so. Does it have some impact on it? Is it the major reason we're seeing some guys come down with elbow injuries? I don't think it's the major, but it could be a contributing factor. I've talked to plenty of pitchers who have said, yes, they do feel a little rushed. And so, but they're not going to say that that's ultimately the end-all, be-all as to why guys are getting injured. But I think it's been good for the game. There's no question. I mean, baseball is being played at a much better tempo. It's being cut down by between 20 and 27 minutes a game, but it's also just created an immediacy to the sport, which I kind of like.
Chris, it feels like a great time to be a Cleveland sports fan, like one of the best.
Hell yeah.
All three teams are good. I mean, how often has that happened, right? The Browns coming off a good season, even with all the injuries. The Guardians exceeding expectations early in the season, and obviously the Cavs so far have played well in the postseason, which I know it's playoffs right now for the Cavs, so I'm guessing you say that, but which team are you most excited about at the moment?
Most excited? I mean, I'm not going to pick and choose when it comes to all three of our teams being in good shape. Like, I love it all.
Yeah.
So, actually, it was nice to have the Cavs game on a Guardians day off on Monday. I thought that was great. Obviously, I'm watching the game on TV. It doesn't feel like this is a playoff series. It really doesn't, for whatever reason. I don't know if because it was on NBA TV last night, and maybe it's because Orlando hasn't led for a second in the series. It just doesn't feel. The only reason it feels like a playoff series is because Mo Wagner is now getting Kelly Olynyk vibes in that building. Other than that, it just doesn't Like if we win, which I expect us to now, and go on and play the Celtics, that's going to feel like a playoff series. Oh, God, get that guy off my screen. I don't need to see him.
He ain't that bad of a guy, Chris. I mean, he made a mistake.
Well,
Anyway.
he did. It was nice. He checked out. He did check out the fan and made sure that Garland was okay. So that part was fine. He's just got one of those whiny faces that, he like you could put on if somebody was smart in Cleveland, they'd make a starting five of Cleveland Cavaliers most hated, whiny faces. So you'd put Olynyk on there. You'd probably put Lane Beer on there. Mo Wagner is working his way into the starting lineup. There's probably a few other
Noah,
schmucks
maybe?
that you could put on there too.
Noah?
Oh, yeah,
Joe
Noah.
Draymond.
With his Cleveland timeshare, T-shirt on.
Right.
Chris, I want to talk about the Guardians a little bit more. We had a discussion earlier. Do you think that Josh Naylor is the best hitter on the team over Jose right now?
I mean, he's always been able to hit. Always been able. Since the minute he was drafted by Miami, that guy has always raked. The question was whether or not he could get everything together emotionally enough to be an everyday baseball player. That's what I had guys telling me when we picked him up from the Padres. They said, listen, Nails is as talented a hitter as we've ever seen. Can he be a guy that hones it in? And as emotional as he's been, he's able to compartmentalize that in his at-bats. And he is a fantastic, fantastic hitter. Now, he's totally different than Jose. Jose just smacks these line drives all over the field when he's going well. The one thing I'm worried about with Naylor is that I hope we didn't miss the opportunity to extend him, because now he's 2 years away from free agency. I think he's a guy that you want around. I believe in who he is. He's a great teammate for dudes. He's intense, and he is as productive a bat in the middle of the order as you'll find right now. He's not a guy that's going to hit you 35 home runs, but man, when there's dudes on base, give me that guy.
No doubt. Chris is going to be part of NFL Network's coverage of the NFL Draft. And as you know, Chris, I mean, for many years, the NFL Draft was the Super Bowl here in Cleveland, as the Browns often had 2 first-round picks. One year they had 3 first-round picks. But now, I mean, it's an afterthought. We've talked about the draft less this year than ever before. It doesn't even feel like it's this week, but now it is. For other teams, it's a big deal. Now, at least the Browns will be picking, we think, in the second round this year. What are you hoping they do without an obvious need for the Browns in the second round?
Well, they need to get younger on the defensive line. So they need somebody that can come in and contribute this year, but also learn from some great veterans. I thought bringing back Shelby Harris and Mo Hurst was a big deal.
Yep.
But those are guys that are closer to the end than the beginning, and you need dudes that can be a permanent fixture for between 4 and 7 years, and that's what we don't have right now, in my opinion. So I would look at defensive tackle, certainly, with that 54th pick. I would look at receiver, because they've got a couple of guys who could walk out the door after this year. Who knows what they're going to do contractually with Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. Yeah, I see some of those names on there. Troy Franklin's skinny but interesting. Xavier Legette is a guy that I find fascinating. He's out of South Carolina. There are some people that feel like he could be a Deebo Samuel-ish clone with his body type. Ricky Pearsall out of Florida had the catch of the year a season ago. Go look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. Keon Coleman, interesting guy. I do think that all those guys could provide something this year, and certainly something down the road. So there's plenty of guys there at 54 that could help us immediately and also fill out that room in 2025 and beyond.
Chris, we've paid such little attention to the draft. Help us out. Where's the first surprise going to be on draft night? Have you gotten any inkling of a team that might surprise, or a player in terms of where they go?
I think it starts at 3 with New England, because even though that they have a quarterback vacancy sign hanging out in their front yard, they could get through with our old buddy Jacoby Brissett easily this year, easily. So let's say that Jaden Daniels goes 2 to Washington, okay? And let's say for whatever reason they don't love Drake May. And they just say, hey, you know what, he could be good. But you don't have to take a guy at 3 just because you don't have a quarterback. They are lacking so much talent. They have drafted one wide receiver in the first round since 1997. One, and that was N'Keal Harry, and he stunk, right? You have got a chance, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr., whether it's Malik Neighbors, or Rome Odunze, who I think is probably the third best out of that triumvirate, to finally get some high-end talent in New England. They have had nobody. So it wouldn't shock me if they passed on a quarterback. It wouldn't shock me if somebody else wants to move up to 3. So I think that's exactly where the draft's going to start, and that's where it could be a ton of fun.
Chris, give me your one prospect of this draft that you say is a for sure thing. This is a can't miss guy. Who's the one prospect that you like in this whole entire draft?
Well, I'll take it outside of the quarterback realm because, as we just learned when Zach Wilson got traded yesterday, I mean, 4 of those 5 guys that were drafted in the first round in 2021, I didn't say like 2015, I said 2021, did not make it through their entire rookie contracts with the team that drafted them. So I'm going to leave the quarterbacks off to the side here. I think Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, is going to be an animal wherever he ends up, and he damn well better get picked by somebody before he slides all the way to Cincinnati at 18. We do not want to see that. That could be the worst thing for us. I think this kid, Quinion Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo, is going to be fantastic. I think he is going to be sensational. I think he can play in a lot of different systems, and I wouldn't mind saying that he's going to be all right in my book.
Mikey McNuggets.
Chris, when you look back at your history as a Browns fan, let's go at least the last 10, 15 years in recent relative history. Who was a draft pick you loved at the moment that didn't pan out, and a draft pick for the Browns you're like, I don't really like that, but you ended up being wrong on?
Good question.
Thank you.
So the guy I ended up being wrong on, I think, I want to say it was the 2009 draft when we had the 5th pick and we traded out, and I think the Jets took Mark Sanchez, and we ended up trading back and we took Alex Mack, and I was like, we freaking took a center? Like, did we really just do that? Didn't we just do that with, what was his name, Jeff Payne?
Yep.
Out of Notre Dame? I was like, why do we keep drafting centers? And Alex Mack had a great career and was awesome for us. And then we did that weird tag with him, and he ended up leaving after being on that tag. It wasn't the franchise tag. It might have been the transition tag, something like that.
Yep.
So he was excellent, I thought, when I wasn't so sure about that move. The guy who was the receiver out of Ohio State, whose dad was our interim coach.
Brian Robisky.
Yeah,
Brian Robisky. Yeah. I always thought he was going to be better. I thought, he wasn't a speedster or anything like that, but I always loved the way he ran routes. I thought the fact that his dad was an exceptional wide receivers coach was going to help him. I thought he was a guy who would always be able to just find an opening and find his place in the NFL because there's always space. Like Keenan Allen's not a burner, but he's played the game now for over a decade and has been phenomenal. It surprised me that he wasn't any good.
All right, Chris, let's wrap it up with this question. This is probably the most important question you've ever been asked. Let's say
yes, ever.
That you and Steve Becker commit a bank robbery together, okay?
Right.
And you guys get arrested. Would you have faith that Steve would not rat you out? Yes or no?
Oh, yeah, it'd be the other way around.
You'd rat him out?
Yeah, I'd be gone. Well, in part because he went to Michigan, right?
Great answer.
So, right, for people that are going, who the hell is Steve Becker? Steve is one of the alleged executives here.
Alleged.
Of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we keep hearing.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's ever been there. So, Are you getting a good text right now? Anything interesting that's happening on the text? What do we got? Are you texting?
I know. We haven't seen Steve in like 8 months. I don't know if he's still working on the show or not.
Steve used to pay us a visit like every 3 or 4 months, and
I think he's coming in May.
I can't kill him today. He got me out of jury duty today, so I got to appreciate him for that.
no, he went to the team
Come
up
on,
north. He's terrible.
You would have been a great foreman in a jury.
Thank
in
you,
a
Chris.
in a
I think I
deliberation
would've.
room.
But I didn't want to
You
miss the
would've been
500th
unbelievable.
show tomorrow, so I got out.
Is that what it is? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Tomorrow,
Very
500th
good.
show.
Steve said he only
it.
comes to Cleveland when it's warm.
Yeah. Chris we
See you in
know
July.
So now we know that Chris would rat out Steve. I don't know.
Steve says I am not a rat.
He's not a rat. He claims he's not.
Well,
thank you, Chris.
that's true.
We appreciate it. Good luck with the draft.
You got it,
NFL
guys.
Network, great coverage. Starting Thursday.
We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Chris. I'm actually looking forward to the draft because for once we haven't spent an insane amount of time talking
I know,
about it. So
I know.
I'm now interested.
I will spend a good 8 hours talking about the draft.
Tough life.
Honestly, part of the reason I didn't want to like branch out in media and do other things is because I don't want to talk about the friggin' draft for 6 months.
I know, but the last few years we
Why?
haven't been able to do that.
Why?
Oh,
That
I'm
only
so
happens for teams that are bad. Only bad teams do you talk about the draft.
Start talking about
over
the
and
draft
over.
in December and January.
December.
I have no interest in
We
it.
would talk about it in November back in the day. Go ahead,
No,
Mike.
I couldn't.
I
do
got to
it.
get one last read in, then we got a super chat, then I'm going to do the Greg Newsome exercise that we passed on earlier, but I think with 5 minutes
Okay.
left, it'll be good to do. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's the first thing you do if you had an extra hour in the day? Go for a run, take a nap, read a book. A lot of us spend our times wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority, and therapy can help you find out what matters to you so you can do more of it. So you've been thinking about starting therapy? Give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Our one super chat of the day, Bull,
Yeah.
comes from, if this will load, comes from Halim Yusuf.
Okay.
Talking about Mo Wagner.
Mo
Our
Wagner,
discussion
okay.
earlier. Mo tried to come in and bully our players when we were looking for them to stand up and show physicality. It magnifies the hate. Fair?
Okay.
Fair assessment? Okay.
All right.
So we mentioned Greg Newsome earlier. He was a 21st pick.
Yeah, I said he wasn't worthy of I didn't say he was a bad player. I just said he wasn't worthy of a first-round pick.
So I'm going to run through the 2021 draft.
Yeah, but you're going to name some guys that might be offensive linemen or like
No.
that. We don't know how good they are.
I'm going to give you names.
But also, you also have to remember they were really desperate for a second corner. I don't know if desperate's the right word. They were targeting the second
Who
corner.
was
doesn't
that
matter.
Was
Opposite
it AJ
Denzel
Green
Ward.
at the time?
If you take a player that's not worthy because you need
I
the position,
understand,
it's
but
a
I
bad
think
move.
it's also
Greedy was the other corner. at
Greedy
that
was the
time.
other corner.
was
And
So I'm just
they were trying to upgrade that spot. So I think you have to look at who else was available to them.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
So I'm just going to read guys, and I'm going to skip guys who are obvious no's. And I need you to count. So get a pencil. We're going to tally. How many guys we think are bona fide, yes, that player is a better just overall player than Greg Newsome, to see where his overall value comes in. You ready?
Yep.
All right. I
We
don't
got
like
7
this
minutes,
exercise
so we're just going to.
because
Trevor Lawrence,
Yes.
yeah, obviously you'd rather have Trevor
quarterback.
Lawrence. Yeah.
Kyle Pitts,
Yes. Oh, stop. He's had no quarterback, that guy.
He's had one good year too. We'll
If
find
you-
out. We'll
if-
find out this year. I'm gonna say yes for this exercise,
Yeah,
but
I'm
we'll
taking
find
Kyle
out
Pitts.
this year.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, yes.
Don't even do
No.
Why would you even ask that?
I'm going to go
Yeah.
through the obvious yeses
Okay.
so we can count the obvious yeses to see kind of what range.
All right.
it is. Jalen Waddle,
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Panay Sewell,
Yes.
J.C. Horn,
Yes.
No, because he's been injured. But when he's healthy, he's supposed to be really good. But he's been hurt like 2 out of the 4 years. So I can't really answer that right now. I will go with Greg because I know Greg actually is gonna play. So there you go.
Hasn't he missed time too?
Newsome?
not really. He's been
Not
pretty good.
really. Yeah, Greg's been pretty healthy.
Pat Surtain,
Oh, don't even do that.
Come on.
Next.
I mean, how many
Devonta
guys are you going to
Smith.
name?
Don't
50
even do
guys?
that.
These are the top 10. Devontae Smith. It was a good draft.
Yes.
Justin Fields.
Yes.
Ah!
I would. I can understand why you wouldn't.
Micah Parsons. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Rashawn Slater.
He's an offensive lineman. I just don't know how good he is. I can't say.
I don't know the answer to
I don't
that
know.
one.
Elijah Vera Tucker, another offensive lineman.
Don't know him.
I don't know.
Is he with the Jets?
He is
He
with the
was.
Jets.
He not with the Jets no more?
I don't know if he is or not, but I know he was with the Jets.
He's still with the Jets.
Don't
Najee
know.
Harris.
Who?
Najee Harris.
No.
Yes.
No.
Najee Harris. And I wasn't a big fan of Najee, but I
No.
thought he really came on this past
I'm with
year.
Tyvis.
Geno.
take Najee.
Travis Etienne.
Yes.
ETN.
We'll keep going down. Elijah Moore.
Who?
You're in the second round now. Or third
That's what
round.
I'm saying. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
26th pick in the first round.
Oh.
There are not
Yeah, no.
25
Geno.
players picked in the first round.
Geno.
I'm going through the whole draft. I'll tell you, I think Greg Newsome, value-wise,
Mike,
Bull,
again, like, how do I compare him to an offensive lineman? We don't know these offensive linemen. Like, you don't know.
the
Geno.
question is, Bull, you said you didn't think he was worth the value where he was being taken.
He wasn't. He hasn't played like a first round.
Mike's
My
proven he has.
My point is, if you were to take the best 26 players in the draft, Greg Newsome is in the top 26.
Well, that may be so, but he hasn't played at a first round level, has he?
But you can only pick from what's available to you.
I understand that, but I'm not wrong in what I'm saying.
Yes, you are.
I think you are wrong in what you're saying.
so then they
yes.
should give the pick back because there's no one worthy of the pick. Here, take it back.
That may be the case. I don't know that that's the case. I'm just saying.
That's why we're doing this exercise.
But Mike, would you agree he hasn't played to the level of a first round pick? That you
I
would
think he's been a
expect?
solid number 2 cornerback. Late first round, I
He's
think.
not a
that's
number
where
2
you drafted.
corner. He's a number 3 corner.
He's a number 2 on most teams.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, I think
But
he
go
could
ahead.
He's definitely.
Fine. You want to overrate your own players? Go ahead.
Do you not think he's a number 2 on most teams?
No.
Is he not one of the 60 best cornerbacks in football?
Yes. You don't think he's one of the 60
Boy, you be
best?
that's
And
ridiculous.
he's probably one of the 60 best, but he's a slot corner.
he plays outside
played-
as well.
He's not as good. He's not good outside.
He filled in for Denzel, and
He's
did
not a
really.
number one shutdown corner. I think
He's
there's
probably
a lot.
like the-
Yeah, I think that's where you
There's-
getting that part confused.
And if I draft a guy in the first round, I'm expecting him to be a really
well,
good
how
corner.
many of those guys really exist? 5?
Where do you think he
the entire
What do you
league?
think? He's the 40th best corner in the league?
Yeah, I think
Something
he's
like that.
probably around
All right, I could live with that.
35 to 50.
All
somewhere
right, go
there.
ahead. Give me more guys.
All right, we'll keep going. We're
Now
now
he's
in the
into it.
second round. Christian Barmore, defensive end,
I mean, how am
defensive
I supposed to
tackle
know
for the
that, Mike?
Patriots.
How are we supposed to know?
Wait,
Christian
defensive end from who?
Barmore is better.
The Patriots.
He
don't
might
know.
be. I have no idea.
I don't know.
No idea.
If we don't know him,
And
then
you're
we-
writing down no every time we say we don't know because how do we know? We're not paying attention to the Patriots defense.
Well, you want me to just ask the Brown? Like, boy, you're making this very difficult.
I'm not
go ahead.
writing down
Keep going.
anything. It's
Just
fine.
ask. Just
JOK.
Way better.
JOK.
year
Creed
ago, you
Humphrey,
would've
the
said
center
that.
for the
No,
Chiefs.
but right now. He's asking me right now. Go
Say
ahead.
that again.
Creed Humphrey, center for the Chiefs.
Oh, way better.
So
Creed
now you
Humphrey
know,
is a
now
Pro
you know a
Bowler,
random
hasn't he?
offensive lineman. Thanks. Just want to make sure we got
He was
that.
a Pro Bowler.
But I know him because he's been on Kansas City.
Nico Collins.
I'm supposed to know a Patriots defensive lineman. They suck.
Nico Collins.
Is better.
Nico Collins is better. I agree.
Yeah.
We'll keep going down. Keep going down.
How many
Amon
guys
Ra-
do we have better right now, Mike?
And how many got better right now? We have
I don't know.
10 better according to Anthony's
That's
count.
not. No way. We can't get more than 10.
Anthony has 10 yeses and he has
I
Go
stopped
ahead.
paying
This is your
attention 5
flawed
minutes ago.
exercise. Go ahead.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Way better.
Stop it.
I'm scrolling. There's not a lot of guys in the fourth
You
round.
may
that
be
are
skipping
anything.
guys that are like elite offensive linemen, and we just don't know.
If they were elite offensive linemen, you know.
No, you wouldn't.
You can't say you know Creed Humphrey, but you don't know the guys on the
Because
first
Creed
round.
Humphrey's on the team. They're on national TV every week.
Rashawn Slater's the left tackle for the Chargers. Elijah Vera Tucker's the best offensive lineman, the only halfway decent offensive lineman on the Jets. Do your damn research, Bull. Come on.
I'm supposed to do research on the Jets offensive
Christian
line.
Darrisaw had
I
the
didn't
third
get
highest
the
rated
memo. I was
PFF
supposed
grade,
to
the left
research
tackle
the
for the
Jets
Vikings
offensive
last
line,
year.
Mike.
You're exposing yourself as a rookie here, Bull. Come on, I gotta take you to school. It's a
Mike
Saturday.
has got you on the ropes.
He
just
certainly does
pummeling
not.
Pummeling him.
I mean,
Throw the damn towel.
This is the
towel.
This is a completely flawed and boring segment. I have at least made it entertaining with my complaints.
Wait, I need to. Is Steve Becker?
I mean, between you naming random names and Earl yapping in the background, nobody knows what the hell he's saying because he's not on the
If
mic.
Steve
I mean,
Becker,
geez.
if Steve Becker is still watching, I need to let you know this now. On May the 30th, I won't be here. I need somebody to fill in for me because
That-
I'm
this
getting my wisdom teeth
That's
pulled
more
on my left
entertaining
side.
than Mike's list of players.
So the May the 30th, I won't be available. It's a Thursday. I won't be here.
That draft is proof, what they say every year, that there's not actually 32 guys worthy of first-round picks or that have.
I just feel very good as we enter our 500 show tomorrow that I'm going to walk into the studio tomorrow with an undefeated last 24-hour record.
No.
Oh, just
completely
absolutely
wrong. Just because these guys agree with your nonsense doesn't make you right.
If the chat agrees, I think you're literally
Of course
the
the chat agrees because the chat is going to overrate their own guys.
No, all I'm saying is
I'm the only one keeping it real here.
But you're wrong. You're really wrong. That's the only real keeping here.
I didn't say the Browns could have definitely got. There were players drafted after him that were better, yes? So they could have taken a better player.
Steve, I think I'm available on the 30th if you need a fill-in for. Actually, wait a minute. That's a Thursday. I'm already here.
Damn, I'm already here.
We'll see you in overtime. I'm talking to Aaron Boone. Peace.
I would rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'll tell you that.
At 10.